check it on his stick.
What happens if a car comes?
You die.
What?
Just relax. Just trust. You need to learn how to trust.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
The tempo?
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
Guess I'll see you in the movies.
Okay, hold on. Let me unmute this guy who's not even there.
Hey, shut up. I'm right here.
Okay, welcome in, everyone. Hello, Max, sitting on top of my foot.
What are you doing?
As you can see, a little different setup, kind of really quickly thrown together. We got a special guest today, the one and only D-Pad 86.
Hey, D-Pad!
We took a massive undertaking over the last, 10 days to watch every single, all 8 Harry Potter movies, the 2 Fantastic Beasts movie, and then last night seeing the newest one. It consisted of one day where we watched 3 Harry Potter movies because we skipped a Sunday night or something like that, and on Monday we watched 6, 7, and 8 all in one day.
It was a lot.
Nuts. But we did it to finally get here today to be able to talk about everything Harry Potter with our resident expert here, D-Pad, who knows everything about Harry Potter and brought his magical sticks with him.
They're wands, not sticks.
Look at that.
I have
Oh,
no idea what you're talking about.
I'm so jealous.
Is that the Elder Wand?
Well, this one will be technically what, your Elder Wand, right? Yeah.
I just thought it was because it has balls. Like the Elder Wand has the little balls all the way up it.
Oh.
Or whatever you call them.
I
Knots.
didn't.
Is that what you call it in a tree? A knot? When it's got like the...
Oh, yeah.
Bulbous thing. Whatever. Anyway. So before we get into reviewing the newest movie, there's a lot of Harry Potter to talk about. And I think we have 3 different levels of... I wouldn't even necessarily say knowledge. I wouldn't claim knowledge, but exposure to Harry Potter. Very clearly, D-Pad is very ingrained into the Harry Potter culture. I've never read any of the books. I don't ever plan on reading the books because I don't know how to read. But I saw all of the movies in theaters when they came out, and then I told Maggie this. I don't know if I've ever watched any of the movies more than maybe twice. I know for sure there's one or two of the movies I've only ever seen once before. So a couple of them was like kind of a fresh viewing on them. But and then Maggie basically has never seen any of them before.
Nope.
And I rewatched every single one of them as well this past week. I watched all of them.
Really?
Yeah. I told
Every
you.
single one.
Is it just as fun watching it?
How many times do you think you've seen them before? Or how many times have you read the books?
Front to back, probably about 3 times.
All of them?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a lot. I agree with Nacho. Reading's not for anything other than subtitles.
You're crazy. Maybe it's one of those things. Is when once you start it, you get into it.
If it doesn't have pictures, my mind wanders.
I don't know. When I read the Hunger Games, I read one book. It was a Friday night, and at like 9:30 at night, I went to the Target across the street and I bought all the rest of the books, and I just hauled ass through the entire series.
I was listening to something on the way home. A guy I follow on YouTube who does a lot of movie stuff has a series where he takes a movie from his physical collection of movies that he has, and he does like a deep dive sort of conversation about it. And because the newest Harry Potter series movie came out, The Fantastic Beasts and the Secret of Dumbledore, he took Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, whichever one you want to call it. It's technically the Philosopher's Stone, but it was changed to Sorcerer's Stone in America and some other places because Philosopher's Stone was too hard to understand. I don't know. But he was talking about it, and I told you this because I also listened to some extra stuff about Harry. I watched a series of videos that was a guy who's a big Harry Potter fan who's read all the books and all that stuff, comparing, there you go, copyright issues, comparing all of the differences between the books and movies and doing one movie at a time. And almost every single video was an hour or more. And he was like really going, this is different. This in the movie actually happens here and happens after this event. And they switch that around and blah, 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 whatever. But I told you this because I learned it through this guy is that, and I think I kind of knew this, but I never really gave it much thought when the movies were first coming out. But the first book was released in like 1997 or something. And the first movie was like 2001, 2002. So as the first movie was coming out, almost exactly the same day, or not too long before, the fourth book was released. So as they were making the movies, the books were still coming out. And that's why you get, and we'll talk about this a little bit, the weird situation where sometimes a character who's in the background all of a sudden becomes like super important, right, and it feels like it comes out of nowhere, right, because they hadn't gotten there yet. They didn't know that the character was going to be important because J.K. Rowling didn't tell them shit. And that was part of her thing on selling the rights to the books to begin with, was she told Warner Brothers, she first turned them down, and then they came back and offered her more money. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, if you can promise that you will never make a sequel unless it is based on the books I write, then fine. And that's what they did. They were like, fine, we'll never make our own thing. She was worried that they'd make their own thing and ruin her books.
Isn't that kind of what Game of Thrones did?
Sort of. Because Game of Thrones ran into the same issues that by the time they got to the later seasons, they were catching up and surpassing the books. Right. But George R. R. Martin basically gave them an outline of what happened, and they just filled in the gaps themselves. J.K. Rowling didn't want that, so she refused to sign off on anything until they promised they would not make a sequel unless she had already released the book or something along those lines, which works out well. But like I said, and we'll get to it when we start talking about what is D-Pad's favorite book, and what I hear is a lot of people's favorite books, but in my opinion, the absolute worst movie in the franchise, because I think that movie and a couple of it is specifically that movie I think suffers the most, because there's a lot of like really small random shit that feels like it comes out of nowhere, and then a lot of like what I think should be central plot lines just don't exist at all, and they're like at the start and at the end, and you get nothing in between, and it makes the movie terrible. Anyway,
I'm excited for that. That debate.
D-Pad, what's your history with Harry Potter? Where did you start with the books? Did you get into the books really early?
Well, I guess the best way to say it is like the books were almost an afterthought. I wouldn't watch the movies. Like after I saw the first movie, because I saw the movie first, I wanted to know the story. So I didn't. I guess the best way to put it is like I didn't watch any of the other movies after until I read the book previous. I guess the way to put it. Correct.
I turned our volume off somehow. What I was saying, while my lips were moving and my voice wasn't happening, is that 2001, you picked up the movie in 2001 and then decided, I gotta read these. Right. Wizards are cool as shit.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Was it a daunting task or overwhelming when you like see how big the books are and?
No, because the way it was told, like the way the story was told, was you just wanted to keep going. You didn't want to stop.
Gotcha.
It just kind of like it you were immersed, I guess would be the best way to put it.
That makes sense. That's exactly how I fell into the Hunger Games thing. Watched the one movie and then got the book and then just couldn't put it down.
Yeah, I just don't like to read. We tried something similar to what Deepak was saying in that we saw the movie in 2001, like as a family, and then my parents were like, "Oh, let's get the books and read the books together," and that lasted. I feel like we did that one night, and then I had absolutely no interest in going any further. I don't know how many chapters we got into. It just books for me. It just when they get into like the descriptors of things and explaining how people looked and things, you lose me. I don't care. I don't need like
the curtain
half a
was
paragraph to
the curtain
tell
was
me
a soft red chiffon.
what something looked like. Yeah, I don't know. It just I've never been able to like visualize things from reading them.
I feel like for me, when the movie came out, it was, at least in my memory, it was like the same time that Lord of the Rings came out. And I remember just, there was kind of like
I think, actually,
there was like,
it might be true.
There was like a little bit of division in kids in my school. Like you were either really into Harry Potter or you were really into Lord of the Rings.
Nacho, I have tried. I read The Hobbit, but The Hobbit is really small in comparison. But I can't.
My I got into Lord of the Rings, and it ended up being a real bonding experience for me and my dad, because my dad read the book and he had a really old copy of the whole Lord of the Rings series. So we would go always see the movies. I got really immersed in that. I read that. That was a really big book for, being in middle school or whatever the fuck I was in. So I feel like I just completely missed the Harry Potter train because I was too busy having crushes on elves.
Deepak is older than you, and he hopped right on board. He got in the front row seat of the Hogwarts Express or whatever, and just went with it.
I was too busy.
I got it right. That's a thumbs up.
I was too busy trying to learn Elvish and having a crush on Legolas.
Yeah. Orlando Bloom was a very attractive elf who could walk on top of snow.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so I guess we should just really start with the first movie.
Before, did you explain why the background looks like a tornado came through here and there's an upside down couch?
Oh, yeah, don't mind the couch that's sideways here. People who've been around for a long time have seen this before. We were supposed to have a carpet cleaning sometime today, and they never showed up. And I waited till the last possible minute to set everything up, so I did not put everything back.
So our couch is planted against the wall.
Pixels to paper. You walked into us about to go over the Harry Potter movies and listen to me say random shit that doesn't make sense, and then Deep had to chime in with, well, actually...
And then me this is the first time I learned all this stuff, and I'm excited to be a part of the conversation. I'm just happy to be here.
I will again. So, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone. Oh, sexy elves. Yeah, Legolas.
Yeah.
From Lord of the Rings. Yeah. There are elves in Harry Potter. They're not so sexy though.
No. Oh no, they were not. They were not of the sexy kind.
No.
Well, you don't even get introduced to your first one until what?
The second movie.
3.
I think it wasn't it 3?
Second one? Yeah, second one.
Yeah, Dobby.
Yeah. Oh,
well, actually,
was that
I don't
second?
know if that's true. Technically, you see Grip Hook. Is that his name in the first movie? Because
yeah, but Grip Hook's not an elf. That's
he's a goblin. He's a goblin. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Goblin.
There you go.
Get your shit right.
I knew this was gonna happen. Okay. And I do agree, Nacho. Somewhere out there is there's definitely some like Creature and Dobby erotic fan fiction somewhere.
What's that saying? If you can think of it, there's probably a porn of it.
There's an elf in the book. I don't know. She's a female elf. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what her name is, but I bet you there's stuff about her too. Anyway, we'll start with the first movie. This is basically Maggie's first time. The movie comes out 2001. Philosopher's Stone, a Sorcerer's Stone, whatever it's going to be. Hello, Blowfish.
Hi, Blowfish.
I was 11 at the time. These two were much older because they're both old people. Older people.
Yeah, fuck you.
Thanks. I do remember going to see it and really enjoying it as a kid at 11, which, I was like probably the exact target demographic for it.
1,000,000%.
I mean, the fact that you first get your letter to go to Hogwarts at the age of 11, so yeah, you would have been the perfect age for it.
See, I did not know that. I had no idea. I don't feel like they say that in the movies at all. They might. I think it's Harry's birthday.
Yeah.
When it happens, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's his 11th birthday.
Is it supposed to be his 11th birthday?
You missed the perfect opportunity to push your glasses up your nose when you said that.
Actually. Yeah, that makes more sense. I guess they do bring up his birthday like in 3 of the movies or so. Because Ron at one point, and I think maybe it is Chamber of Secrets when we'll get there. But I'm pretty sure he's like, oh yeah, and happy birthday. It's always like a throwaway line. It's never really that much of a big deal. But, so we start off Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, whatever. I'm just going to stick with Sorcerer's Stone because that's what I know it here as in the good old United States.
I didn't know it was different elsewhere.
Yeah, it's copyright reasons. They had to change it from Philosopher's Stone, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's kind of weird. They say Philosopher's Stone in the movie, I'm pretty sure.
I thought so.
Do they? Or do they say Sorcerer's Stone?
I got a lot of stuff packed into my brain, so I don't remember.
Voldemort used to give Blowfish nightmares.
They say Sorcerer's Stone.
They do say Sorcerer's Stone, okay. This movie, watching it again for the first time I don't know if it's the first time since I had originally saw it. I doubt it's the first time since I've originally saw it. I feel like I've probably seen the movie at least twice before this. So just to err on the safe side, I'll say it's the third time I've ever watched this movie. But now definitely watching it as an adult. Mm-hmm. I was really pretty much just like pulled in to the movie. I think the first movie does a really good job of like showing you. And obviously, it's like Harry's first time going to the Wizarding World, but I feel like they do a really good job of showing you, like how magical the world is. There's the wizard chest. There's Quidditch for the first time. There's a troll. The goblins at the thing. The flying on a motorcycle.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like they did a really good job in that movie.
Looking back now, and I said this so many times while we were watching all of the movies, I feel such regret because not only did I've done the VIP backlot tour of Universal Studios Hollywood, where I got to go to the Harry Diagon Alley and experience the one thing.
The Harry Diagon Alley, what's that like? Is everything made out of hair?
Well, I wasn't able to appreciate anything. I was like, yeah. And then I literally, when I lived in England, went to where they filmed the first, I think it was only the first 2 movies. The Courtyard, or is that in all the movies?
I feel like they probably used the same place for all of the movies, but I don't know.
And I physically got to go there, and it was the cutest thing because when I was walking around, everyone's buying all of these souvenirs and these brooms and blah, blah, blah. And a little school bus pulled up, and all of these little kids came out, and they all had little capes on, and they stood in the courtyard where they filmed the movie, and they did magic lessons. And it was the cutest thing ever, and I didn't get it. In Scotland, or wherever it was, I don't remember. But all this stuff just completely went over my head, and I didn't get to appreciate any of it. And now I want to go back. I want to get a wand
Are
and a
you
broom.
jealous, Deacon, that she got to go to Hogwarts?
I Universal, and I saw it all for the first time. How they had it all set up there. I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
Did you do the wand thing where they make objects and the windows move and stuff?
Like
well,
is that
I
the
know you
Bluetooth?
got a wand. I just don't know if everybody does it or if that's like really a thing they do for kids where they make you like
Isn't it like a
wave
Bluetooth
your
thing?
wand and maybe I don't know.
You do something and it does something.
I don't know how it works. It could be Bluetooth, but I don't know.
No, there's a little sensor at the top, at the tip of the wand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And each wand comes with a map.
That's so cool.
Everything is
Aw.
like pristine. Is that the Marauders map?
No, this is a map of Diagon Alley, of how they have the, and then on the other side is Hogsmeade Station, which is the other part in Universal. And on the map, they show different locations with different, I don't know if you can see it, but there's different, all the way around the circle, there's different ways to, say, swoop your wand. And if you do them in those certain locations, it interacts with the stuff inside the amusement park.
I
That
could
is
have
cool.
done that.
I've seen it on videos before where people were like at Universal and were bibbidi bobbidi boop.
Yeah, I saw
and the
people doing it around me,
teacups
and I
were
didn't
spun
do
in a
it.
circle.
This is the one I ended up. This is the one that they gave me. I did the whole thing through Ollivanders, and this is the one that they say chose me.
Right. I remember saying that.
So
Come
I
on,
did this one.
believe in the magic. No chose you here. The
This one
wand,
chose me.
the wand picks its owner.
Blowfish the Castle is very beautiful, and they actually do it at nighttime. I wanted to do this, but I couldn't stay that long. At nighttime, they do a haunted castle tour where you can walk down below and all that.
I'm curious about the platform 9 3/4. Is that just is that just in whatever train station they shot at, and they've just like
Painted
put a
it?
sign up that says 9 3/4 or something?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I feel like I knew that there was a thing for that, but I don't know.
Exactly. Blowfish, the wand chooses the wizard.
The wand chooses the wizard.
When I was there at Universal, a little girl,
Simon Trolley. Ah.
a little girl in like a big crowd, everyone was watching. Her wand chose her, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then I remembered that I had bought edibles and I had them in my purse, so I took an edible. I was not there at all mentally.
So what's it called? This one, I know I've shown this one the crim and stuff before, but this is the one that, you know what I mean, is actually marked. You know, like this one did not come from Universal. This one came. I got the certificate and stuff.
That's so neat.
That this one was the Noble Collection, which was used as a prop.
Wait,
in the movie.
that's a movie
Really?
That's. I feel like I did know that, but that is still pretty awesome.
Holy shit!
This one is Harry's wand.
From which movie, or just all of them? Well, I mean, I don't know. If
It just says it was used in it, and it says this document certifies that the enclosed wand is an authentic from the Warner Brothers Pictures Harry Potter film series.
Huh.
That is so neat.
Yep.
All right.
A friend got me this for Christmas one year.
It's a good friend.
Yeah.
Probably very expensive.
I hope. Do you display it?
It stays. It
No.
stays right in its nice box.
That's a nice box too.
It's
Oh,
also, it also
it's-
goes right under the shotgun, so if anybody comes to try and mess with me, I'll show them my magic spell, Buckshot.
Yeah. Blam.
Abrackaboom.
And then the other interactive ones that I did purchase when I was down in Florida last was the Voldemort's wand, which is in this one, and Dumbledore's, which is in this one.
Nice. No, Blowfish, I did not notice that. So anyway, back to the movies. What do you think about the first movie? Obviously, it's what started your love of Harry Potter in total, but what did you think about it on a rewatch?
What for number one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, it always holds a place. You know what I mean? Because it was like it explained everything.
Yeah.
Like it was the start. It was here's what the world that we're gonna give you, and hopefully you like it. And going back and watching it again, seeing the old CGI was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like how?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a fun part of being able to watch it from beginning to end, is seeing the progression of the CGI and the animation.
Yeah. Going back and watching it again.
So I have this little collector's set of all 8 movies, Blu-ray collector set. I got this at an old job I worked at. They had like this point system where you get things, and then I saw this on there, and I was like, oh, a free box set of movies. Why not? I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan, but this thing, when at the time it came out, was a bit more expensive, and I was like, I can just get it for free? Sure. So we were watching that. I don't know if any of, for like the Blu-ray releases, if the CGI was like upscaled or some kind of retouched up a little bit. I'm going to assume it probably was, because while, yes, it's very clear when the kids are like CGI, and obviously the troll is like CGI. Mm-hmm. For a 2001 movie, I was still kind of impressed.
Yeah.
But again, maybe there was, I bet almost certainly there were some touch-ups done to the CGI to make it look, I don't know, maybe
Sure, when that came out, yeah.
maybe smooth.
Same thing with Lord of the Rings at the time.
That was a lot more practical stuff, though.
I ended up rewatching them all. What was it, HBO Max?
We started HBO Max, but there was a storm that night, and I was like, and it like cut off our connection, and I was like, well, good thing I own them all. Good thing for that physical media, because we can just watch them that way.
All you have to do is look at Dallas's power grid the wrong way, and we lose everything.
Yeah. So, I really like it. I will say, I think all the kids do a good job. I like seeing some of, like in the first movie, the first time you see Nearly Headless Nick, seeing him, and you know, if you don't know,
Sir Nicholas.
yeah,
Don't be mean to him. It's Sir Nicholas.
Sir Nicholas, Nearly Headless Nick, whatever.
Like you refer to as Sir Nicholas.
Sir Nicholas. I did like. I had to point out to her that the first movie was directed. I think the first 2 were directed by Chris Columbus, who's famous for Home Alone, Miss Doubtfire, those great movies. So it was fun to see him doing it. I think he did like a fantastic job. What I really do like, though, and this is something, we'll see how you feel about this. So Richard Harris as Dumbledore in the first 2 movies. Better or worse than the guy who took over?
Okay.
I'm
As far as being like, supposed to be like a mentor or whatever. I enjoyed the first two, but I think they made him too old, and so when the third one came out, it kind of like he got a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think would be the best way to say it.
And more spry.
Michael Gambon, or however you say his last name, who took over in Azkaban, because Richard Harris unfortunately passed away before the second movie even released.
That made me really sad.
I did mention to her that there's quite a few people through the... Obviously, people like Alan Rickman, who passed away years after he did Harry Potter, and some of the other people who had passed away as well after, but I did have to point out that there were a few people who had filmed at least one movie and then died and then got replaced, although most of them weren't big characters. Obviously, the biggest one is Dumbledore, and that's just because Richard Harris passed away. But funny story with Richard Harris, he originally wasn't going to do it, but his grandchildren, or his granddaughter, was a massive Harry Potter fan of the books, and she said, if you don't do this, I'm never talking to you again. Aww. So he's like, so I did it. So I just decided to do it. To be honest, I really like Richard Harris in both the first two movies. I do kind of agree. I mean, I get that I don't know if it was like after he passed away, maybe they like rethought to potentially get somebody younger. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the age difference between Richard Harris and Michael Gambon actually was at the time. It is. Somebody else, actually, speaking of, Alan Rickman was the same thing, but it wasn't his kids, but Alan Rickman's, like, godchildren and nieces or nephews or something did the same thing. They were Harry Potter fans and told him to take the role when I guess he talked to his family about it or something. So he's like, all right.
I'm curious, D-Pad, I feel like I read somewhere or heard somewhere that the woman that plays Professor McGonagall?
Maggie.
Oh, yeah.
Maggie Smith?
Yeah,
you should know
that. That throughout the filming, she was battling breast cancer and she was doing treatment while she was filming. Is that true?
Yep.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, she was very dedicated to that role as McGonagall.
I think she was fantastic.
She's amazing.
In all of them.
And I can't...
She was, especially how her character progressed.
Right.
And you know, with now going back with Fantastic Beasts, how they're showing how she was beforehand as well now too.
Yeah, younger self.
We will get there. It's not anything that's gonna like affect any of my judgment, but that is actually a talking point I did want to bring up.
But that is incredible that she was going through all that and she could still put her heart and soul into that role through all of those movies. That couldn't have been easy.
No, probably not. Yeah, I think, and then of course John Hurt's in there as a almost blink and you miss it. You wouldn't know that it was John Hurt, but as Mr. Ollivander, who gives out the wands, who he's also passed away now for a couple of years. There's a lot of fun. One thing that Maggie is going to bring up kind of as we progress here, I don't know if I've ever met anybody who hates the Dursley family more. Every single time they were on screen or even mentioned, she was just like, why does he still live there?
That pissed me
Why
off.
doesn't he go somewhere else? Why do they hate him so much? Why do they treat him like this?
Those are the shittiest people, the shittiest characters I've ever seen. That made me so angry every movie. I had to see their stupid faces.
Now, okay, let me explain something about those Dursleys. He had no choice. Now this is a lot of stuff that you miss with the books. They explain it a little bit, but they never really like get into it.
Why couldn't he just stay with Ron?
It's the fact that Harry had to stay with blood relatives in order for Lily's protection.
Yeah.
To still work.
The love protection spell that she had when she died. I tried to tell you that, and I think it might be, it's either just completely, it was never filmed or something like Deepat is saying, or it was a cut scene from one of the movies. But yeah, I did know that, but I've known that from like watching other things where people like talked about the books and whatever, because I always like to see like what the actual comparisons or differences are.
That's why when Sirius was introduced, and if Sirius was able to be found innocent, which he never was, Harry could have went and stayed with Sirius, and the protection still would have stayed.
I was so mad at you because every movie I was like, I fucking hate these people. And you're like, it's going to explain it. And then it never did.
I thought it did, but also, to be fair, your friend, who is a huge Harry Potter fan, told you the same thing. So be more mad at her. Because
The worst part about it is that in the last book, the wife, which is Lily's sister, actually has a heart-to-heart conversation with Harry before they leave. When they're packing up the car and leaving in the movie.
They should have put that in there.
they did film a scene of that and cut it out.
Yeah. In the book, she sits down and has a heart-to-heart conversation about how she was like jealous of her sister with the magic, and she sees a lot of sister in his eyes, and it was very touching, and they cut that out.
I don't know if her heart could have handled that, to be honest.
Probably not.
So the first movie is really great. I've always remembered, even though we just watched it recently, I always had vivid memories of the wizard chest scene.
I was about to say, if it's not wizard chest, then you know what I mean. The first one, that as far as I was concerned, that's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, and and then obviously when it's revealed that Professor Quirrell has Voldemort with a nose on the back of his head.
That was spoopy.
Yeah, that always kind of stuck out and everything. I didn't remember a lot of the smaller details. I remembered the Cerberus or Fluffy being there. I didn't really remember how they got past them with like the music and everything, although technically they don't really get past.
Play him a little tune.
Yeah. So I remembered a lot of general things about that movie, but watching it now, like I said, sort of with adult eyes and all these years later, I was still pretty surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I think it was a really good movie.
I really liked it.
We'll kind of talk about where I rank all these movies in a bit, because I have kept track of what I think each movie should be. But on to the second movie. Sorry if that made a loud noise. And Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
I feel like...
I feel there should have been I don't know how much more Moaning Myrtle is in the books outside of Chamber of Secrets and Goblet of Fire, but I want justice for Moaning Myrtle. I feel like she needs to be in the movies and everything way more.
Agreed.
Way more. Especially after Goblet of Fire, when she like very clearly sexually harasses Harry in the bath.
Yeah, she's... Keep it in your pants there, Myrtle.
And she's like a 16-year-old ghost who's ready to mingle.
She was trying to get with Diggory just before, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I still think Chamber of Secrets is really good. Again, same sort of thing as with Sorcerer's Stone. I remembered bits and pieces. Like, I remembered Tom Riddle's diary and the Basilisks and getting the Sword of Gryffindor and, like, that sort of stuff. But I didn't really remember, like, the connective pieces. So, watching it back, I will say, one thing I really dislike about Chamber of Secrets, and I don't know if it's like this in the book, and this is where D-Pad can, verify or whatever. I do not like that they straight up sideline Hermione for what feels like a large portion, or at least almost pretty much the entire final act of the movie. When they go and take... They drink
in the book.
It did.
I mean, I know it happens in the book, but it's just like... I don't know. It just feels... Watching it with the eyes of, like, I know she's a massive character and all these important things and whatever, it just really feels like she just got absolutely sidelined, and in her replacement was...
If she didn't get sidelined when she did, they would have figured it out. The movie would have been over faster than you could blink.
No, yes.
Hermione,
Yeah.
Hermione just figured everything out.
Right.
So she was getting ready to tell him it was a
And-
basilisk. She knows where it is. She knows how it's going. She knows this. She knows that.
And
so, boom.
I get that, but what I'm
With
saying
light
is, like, in the movie, and it's probably maybe about the middle part of the movie, they take the polyjuice potion, she turns into a cat, she sits in a stall for, I don't know, it might be like 10, 15 minutes in the movie, maybe 20 minutes if you're pushing it. And then again, later on, she gets paralyzed and is just there for the rest of the movie until she wakes up and she's like, you figured it out. No one noticed that I was holding a thing in my hand. Not the nurse, not Dumbledore, not a teacher. Nobody noticed I was holding something.
That's a good point.
Her getting sidelined, I get it. It helps, like, Harry and Ron to, like, step up and whatever. But it feels so strange. I don't take much of a ding to the movie or whatever for that. But, like, that's my biggest issue with that. That, and I think Tom Riddle's great in it. I wish maybe we got a little bit more, or saw a little bit more, or maybe saw... I get that. I think the first time Harry looks at the book, and it, like, the diary or journal or whatever, and it travels him kind of back in time to see everything, is when Tom Riddle's standing at the bottom of the stairs and they're taking Moaning Myrtle's body out. Maybe, and obviously because it's a journal and it's from, like, his perspective because he would be writing things, that's why you see it. But if I'm pretty sure he was in the bathroom too, so if we could have got that scene of, like, him opening the Chamber of Secrets and the basilisk coming out and paralyzing Moaning Myrtle as, like, actually seeing her die, I don't know. I think that would have added something, but that might have been too dark.
Was it
movie.
that one, or was it the next one that I got so excited and I was like, I fucking love time shit.
That's the next one. We'll get there.
That's the next one.
Yeah, I don't know. I do really like the second movie. I think it's a little bit worse than the first movie, but only because, again, I feel like them, like, just sidelining Hermione is, in my mind, just baffling. Like, I don't really get it. And then I also think, as much as I like Kenneth Branagh, I think Gilderoy Lockhart or whatever is, like, the most, just the dumbest, like, nothing character that they could have ever introduced in the series. Like, I get it. Like, it's just sort of, you know, it's like expanding the world of Harry Potter and stuff to be like...
He was the glory hound.
Yeah, here's this guy who's, like, really a fake guy. He takes other people's exploits and claims them as his own or whatever. But he's such a, like, just a nothing character. He's here, and then he's gone. He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't, like... I don't know. His weird choice. Apparently Robin Williams wanted to be in Harry Potter, and that was the role he potentially wanted. But because J.K. Rowling's and everybody decided only people who were from the UK or, like, Ireland could be in it, they didn't go with him. But apparently Robin Williams, that was the role that he potentially wanted to do. Which, I don't know, maybe that would have made it, like, slightly more entertaining because it would have been Robin Williams, and maybe they would have let him have a little bit more fun with it. I don't think Kenneth Branagh did bad. The characters just, I don't know. It's...
The actor stood no chance because the character was garbage from the beginning.
Right. I don't disagree. I think Williams, like, increases or makes anything better, but... I get, again, that they wanted, like, all UK, Ireland actors and stuff. Makes sense. European, that sort of thing.
Considering the fact that was the lore.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think, again, I think that movie's just a little bit worse than the first movie, but I still think both of them are pretty good. I gave... I went, because as we were watching them, I went through and, like, re-added them to a watch list, made a list of which ones I like more than others to kind of keep track, and also gave them all ratings. Both of those I give an 8 out of 10, or a 4 out of 5. I think they're both really good. I just, again, think the second one's a little less than the first one. Now we get to and no matter what D-pad says, don't let him sway you. Without a doubt, the best movie in the franchise. Prisoner of Azkaban.
Listen.
Rewatching them all again. Now, if I take the books out of it,
You got to take the books out.
yeah, if I take the books out of it and after rewatching them all again, I will agree with you on 3. As far as being the best movie out of the bunch.
Out of all of them, number 3 was my favorite.
Don't worry, it's gonna get interesting once we get to number 6.
Yeah, Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah. Prisoner of Azkaban, I don't know if there's anything that really needs to be said more about it. The movie is just just absolutely amazing. Directed by we get a change in directors. We get Alfonso Cuarón. Has made a name for himself. I think he's won Best Director, or at least his movies have been won Best Picture. I told you he did like Roma.
Oh yeah.
This movie, this is the first movie. The first and second movie have a little bits of like darkness to them. The first movie less so. It's not really until the end when like Voldemort is revealed to still in some sort of way be around, and it kind of a little bit dark. The second movie gets darker with the introduction of like Tom Riddle or Voldemort, reveal that Tom Riddle was Voldemort as a kid and that he had started his shit while he was at Hogwarts and all that sort of stuff. Prisoner of Azkaban is super dark from the start. Right off the rip, it's a dark movie. It's not nearly as like happy and colorful as the other 2 movies were. It's definitely a tonal shift, and Alfonso Cuarón just like knocks it out of the park, directing wise. Everybody who was involved did fantastic. I think Gary Oldman as Sirius Black is up there as like the best casting decision in all of these movies. Which isn't to say a lot because Gary Oldman is like the best casting decision in pretty much anything that he's in.
Yeah.
But he does so well. And then we also get what's arguably also considered, from what I hear from fans and people who talk about these a lot, the best defense against the dark arts teacher in Remus Lupin, played by David Thewis, who's also great. Every time it happens, I gotta bring it up. We watch Big Mouth on Netflix. So David Thewis is also the shame wizard in that, and she got a kick out of the fact that he's in Harry Potter and that he's a wizard also in Big Mouth.
We just saw an episode where his little frail character is naked. That was all I could think about when I looked at him.
This movie's just great top to bottom. There's like a little bit of suspense and you don't know kind of what's going on with Sirius Black. Everybody's like, oh my god, he's the reason your parents are dead. He killed your parents and this and that. And then there's something kind of going on with Lupin that you sort of notice when he does the boggart thing and he steps in front of it and you're like, why the fuck's he afraid of like a moon? That's weird. And then all of a sudden he's like gone and Snape doesn't seem to like him for some reason. You get the Marauders map in this movie.
And then Snape comes in and teaches the class when Lupin's out and says, you know, turn your books to page.
Oh yeah, we're gonna learn about werewolves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I said what you said. I said that out loud too. That the first movie was very colorful and very vibrant, and it had such a different tone to it. And all of them progressively after that did just get darker. Even just the visual effects, the colorization of everything got darker and darker and darker.
When the Warner Brothers symbol was darker and darker.
Yeah.
I picked up on that, and I like that. I like that it kind of, I don't know. It was weird to notice that, but I also liked that you're getting this progression of darkness as the characters are getting older and more mature. Was really great. And then I do have to say, with every single one of these movies, I feel like I drove you a little insane because I'd be like, well, wait, no, who's that gonna, well, how, wait, what is that? And He kept being like, "Will you just watch the movie?"
She has the bad habit of being like, "But why is that? But this." But... And then it was great progression with Snape in general, because in the first two, she's like, "Why is he? I hate him. Why is he mean? He sucks. He's terrible." And then it's like the slow progression. Obviously, we'll get to the payoff for Snape because it's huge payoff that works really well. But it was great to listen to her knowing what comes.
Right.
Her just being like, "Well, why is he such a dickhead all the time? Why is he so
I would
angry?
ask.
Why is he mean?"
I'd ask Patrick a question, and then he would just be quiet, staring at the TV. And I'd be like, "Are you going to answer me?" And you're like, "No, watch the movie."
Yeah. We also get Emma Thompson in this movie as Sybil Trelawney, the divinations teacher.
Loved her.
Yeah.
Loved her.
A really bit role, but I do think she's got like, you know, as far as like a not even a secondary character, but a third row kind of character. It's sort of fun.
She was my jam. I loved her.
Small little bits that she gets. I do like her little back and forth with Hermione, where she's like, "Well, you're just not meant for this at all," and Hermione's like, "Well, fuck this shit."
Yeah,
then.
it was so funny because like I happen to love a boutique that specializes in divination things.
She would have took that class.
1,000,000%. I want to take it right now. I'm all about crystals and all that shit, and it was so funny to see Hermione be like skeptical. She was like you. She was like, "This is stupid."
There's no way in hell I ever would have taken a class that's about reading tea stains or looking into crystal balls. No way. I'd be like, "All right, look, we might be wizards and shit, but that's some absolute
This is
nonsense.
some Spirit Halloween bullshit."
I'd rather spend my time learning about the animals with because this is also where we get Buckbeak and
tea leaves.
Is it tea? I
It's tea
swear in
leaves.
the movie it's a tea stain though. They're looking at because when Ron looks and it's the grim, but it's in the shape of like a wolf. It's the
It wasn't in the shape of a wolf. It was the shape of an animagus, which was Sirius Black.
yes, but he's a dog, whatever. It was a dog or something, but it's the grain. I don't know how tea works. I don't drink tea.
I know
okay?
tea
Maybe I'm
leaves.
just wrong.
Tea leaves.
But I
is a
swear
real
it was
thing.
just like the. I almost want to say grounds, but you don't have grounds in tea. That's like coffee that you get grounds. But it was like.
You have remnants in tea if you use like a sachet like I have.
I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know shit about tea, so maybe it's just the crushed up leaves that are still like soaked.
The point is I would
loose leaf
take
tea, there
that
you
class
go.
in a second.
I've
I've got a crystal ball in the bedroom. It lights up.
It does bring us to.
You know.
This is also really the first movie where you start getting like you get them in the first two movies a little bit with like everybody has an owl or Ron's got a rat. Scabbers. This is the first movie though where there's really like a big introduction to like really mythical beasts and Buckbeak with the hippogriff. Is that what he is?
It's a hippogriff, yep.
Which I thought was hypocrite. It was not.
Because Hagrid gets a class to teach animals and stuff, which, you know, obviously the Fantastic Beasts lean more into the magical animal side of things. I did try and point out, I've never seen it myself. I know it's in the movie. When he's using the Marauder map, I tried to point out that somewhere in one of those scenes, you do see Newt Scamander's name on the Marauders map, which is just like a little hint to the character itself.
That's true.
Yeah, because he's never mentioned in the movies anywhere, but I guess in the books, his Fantastic Beasts novel thing that he wrote is it's famous or whatever.
The book that he wrote after the first movie of Fantastic Beasts, it was used in literature going on and going forward.
So it was like an Easter egg for fans to be like, if you were paying attention when he opens the Marauder map, there's Newt Scamander's name to like the side.
And that was in there even like well before they even thought about making the movies?
Yes. Well, yeah, because he's while he's not like a physical character at all in the Harry Potter books, because he wrote that Fantastic Beasts book, which is used as like a teacher's a tool for schools or whatever.
I like that.
I told you that Dumbledore highly recommends the book or endorses the book or something, and it becomes really massively popular and stuff, which we'll maybe get to in the Fantastic Beasts section. Yeah, this movie is just, again, top to bottom, great. The reveals of everything when Harry, the first time when he's using the Marauders map, and this is where he gets caught by Snape because he sees Peter Pettigrew's footprints on the map, that. And he's like, but I saw somebody who I know to be dead, and he tells Lupin about it, and he's like, Lupin kind of gives him a look for a second, like, huh. And you can tell that later on that he's pieced things together in his mind that, okay, well. And then you get the fantastic scene where they're under the Whomping Willow, and Harry's like ready to fucking kill Black, and then he's like, they're like, it wasn't me, it's a fucking rat. They turn the rat, they reveal him to be a person, and Ron's just like,
what the hell?
The fuck?
I'm taking care of you. Isn't this was also the movie that Malfoy got clocked, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is where
standing
she was so
ovation.
happy when Hermione slapped the shit out of him.
She punched him.
Yeah.
She punched him. She didn't slap him.
I think it's supposed to be a slap, but in the movie it's very clearly like a punch.
Man, that was a long time coming. I was so excited about that.
I also had
and I got to see it twice.
The seat that Buckbeak doesn't get killed. Because she was like, are they going to kill him? Oh, I'm so mad. Don't kill him. And then the axe swing where they don't show anything. And she's like, they killed him? And I was like, I don't know.
I was like, this is a children's movie. Did they really just cut his head off? I was very upset.
Yeah, the time, what's it called? Time Turner?
It's a Time Turner, yeah.
It's pretty great. It works really well. There's always, I also pointed this out to her, that there's in the scene, the first time when Hermione does punch Draco, if you're looking, you can see somebody's hand on the side of one of the bricks, and it's supposed to be Hermione or Harry pulling their hand back. It's very quick, blink and you miss it sort of thing, which is a nice little, for eagle-eyed viewers, if you catch it, you might be like, what was that? Or you might just not think anything about it, but then you think back later and be like, holy shit. Or the scene where they hide behind the pumpkins and Hermione just turns around and she's like, I thought I just saw... Never mind. And then you're like, wait a minute.
I love found footage horror movies, and I love time travel movies.
That is true.
I was very excited. Love time shit.
Yeah, that's true. One of her favorite movies is a weird horror, timey-wimey nonsense, The Triangle.
Yeah.
Is it The Triangle or just Triangle?
I think it's just Triangle.
Triangle. It's got Liam Hemsworth in it. It's very twisty-turny. Is it great? I mean, not really, but...
It's amazing. It should have gotten an Oscar.
It's an interesting movie. So everybody agrees Azkaban is easily the best one. I don't watch Doctor Who, but I've heard timey-wimey so much. Why
Triangle.
Not? I can't believe Deepak hasn't said it with his Doctor Who painting right behind it. The next one is Goblet of Fire, right? Fourth one?
You could at least say his name,
Whose name?
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey blah blah blah. The Triangle is I feel like one of the first movies when we got together that Maggie absolutely insisted that I watch. That and Coherent?
Yeah, Coherence.
Is it called Coherence?
Coherence.
Those two movies, which are both weird, timey, time manipulation, weird shit, multi-universe things going on.
Back when we were doing remote dates where we would
remote dates where we would watch a movie independently but at the same time. Anyway, so Doctor Who's a great lineup for the next movie in the series, which is Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Because
nice
Goblet of Fire... Goblet of Fire gives us
the best Doctor. All right, I don't care what anybody says. The best Doctor.
I have no skin in the game, so do what you want.
Wait, who is the best Doctor?
David Tennant.
Remember David
Agreed.
Tennant is
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
He's in this as Barty Crouch Jr. and he does the thing with this.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that. I like David Tennant.
Yeah,
It's Doctor Who.
got it.
And then I like Matt Smith.
So this movie is a weird one for me. This one is, I like the movie, but it's like a half like, because there's things in it that I don't know if the books like give more detail or show more, that they just cut for time. Because again, if you've never seen these movies, it's worth knowing that every single one of these movies is at least like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
I think the shortest one is actually the second Fantastic Beasts movie, and it's 2 hours and like 10 minutes.
Which is the one that I checked out on? 3?
No, 6. 6 is the one where we had to stop because it was so late.
My brain couldn't take it anymore.
I had no idea he had a drinking issue on any of them, Nacho, to be honest. Goblet of Fire, again, is just a weird one for me. The kids come back. They all visibly look a bit older. The first 2 movies released back-to-back. And then between the second one and Azkaban was 2 years. And then Goblet of Fire and Azkaban was only 1 year, but they definitely looked like they had a growth spurt between
Everybody.
Azkaban and Goblet of Fire. The Goblet of Fire is a weird one. So in Azkaban is the first time that we get Michael Gavin as Dumbledore, and he kind of is a backseat player. He's not like front and center or anything, so he's just fine in that movie. Goblet of Fire is the movie that I know a lot of people look to a lot to go, his Dumbledore is bad, because he's a lot more bombastic and yelly and
aggressive,
because he's really up front and like center to the story a lot of the time, but he's like really like extra the whole time. And there's the famous meme of the part in the book where it goes, "Did you put your name in the goblet, Harry?" Dumbledore asked calmly. And then in the movie it's, "Did you put your name in the goblet?" It's like, that's not calm at all. So I do actually agree watching it back. In my mind, as not a book reader or anything, I didn't really have a stake in the game, so I always thought he was good. But Goblet of Fire, I do see, like, he's actually kind of off-putting in this movie for almost the entire time. Because he's just way too, especially compared to what you're used to from the first and second movie, and then his, like, pretty reduced role in the third movie where he, you know, maybe had a handful of speaking lines or scenes, but it wasn't anything crazy. To all of a sudden for him to just be, like,
in your face,
so bombastic and in your face, it was off-putting to me in this movie. And then,
well, Goblet of Fire introduces you to, well, at least one of my favorite characters, and that is Mad-Eye Moody. By far, one of my favorite characters. Alistair Moody.
He freaked me out a little bit.
I do like Mad-Eye Moody, but when I remembered that he was coming in, I knew that she wouldn't like it because of his eyeball. Because she doesn't like eyeball things. And while it's not like a crazy, like, eye-popping anything, just the fact that it, like, rolls around and can, like, spin to the back of his head and stuff, I knew it was gonna bother her on that.
I literally looked away from the screen a couple times. I was like, no, I can't do this.
As far as the books go, it's one of my favorite characters. Is Mad-Eye.
Yeah, and Brendan Gleeson, who plays him, fantastic job. I do think Mad-Eye's a fun character. I don't feel like he really gets enough to do in the movies. You just kind of hear, especially when he's introduced, that he's like, he was an aura, and he, like, caught the most dark wizards ever, or whatever. They, like, really hype him up. And then he doesn't really do much. In Goblet of Fire, he gets...
Not really him.
I know, but in Goblet of Fire, he gets to do a lot, because he's, like, helping Harry the whole time. He put Harry's name into even though it's Barty Crouch Jr., but in his subsequent appearances, he just, like, does less and less, and it kind of, like, dampers his... the mystique to the character, the interest to the character for me. But I think he's fun and works pretty well in this one. And I do like the subtleties of, you can kind of tell that he's a little, like, crazy, especially in the first Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson, where he's like, what are the 3 horrible curses, or whatever they're called?
Horrible curses.
Yeah, what are the three
Horror-
unforgivable
horror-
curses or whatever? And
Horcruxes.
he like forces him to say it, and Hermione doesn't want to say it. What?
Can you name the 3 unforgivable curses?
Abracadabra, puppeteering, and torture. Those are the 3.
So the Imperious curse, which would be the one where you can take over, and then you have the Cruciatus curse.
The torture one.
That's the torture curse, and then the killing curse, which is Avada Kedavra.
Yeah, abracadabra.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
God, I can't ever say it right. Abracadabra. Avada Kedavra. It literally, to me, it just sounds like they're saying abracadabra poorly, and that.
I thought that's what it was.
I wonder if maybe if there's maybe an interview or something where she was asked if it was like inspired by abracadabra, like she just needed a spell and she thought like abracadabra and just changed a letter or two.
Cadaver makes sense.
I don't know. When I was on the Insert Coin podcast the other day, we were doing movie quotes, and I was like, oh yeah, we were watching Harry Potter, so there's the famous one of the boy who lived come to die. Abracadabra. Avada Kedavra.
I like the TikToks where people will like snatch an icicle off the top of their roof and just go.
Or for any old YouTube people or Harry Potter fans, the Harry Potter puppet pals, Snape, Cerberus Snape.
I have not been able to get that out of my head. I haven't been able to get that out of my head since we started.
This movie also starts to give Neville a little bit of character. With the Cruciatus curse, you kind of see that it really bothers him a lot, and then you kind of learn that, well, his parents were hit with that curse, and that's why his parents are like in a psych ward and whatever.
Oh, his parents are dead. They were killed by Bellatrix Lestrange.
I don't think they're dead. I'm pretty sure
they are dead. They were murdered.
I don't think they're dead.
Oh, you're gonna.
I don't think they're dead. Are we gonna fact check this? And when I'm right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fact check it.
They are dead.
I would like
They
to
were
say
killed by the Cruciatus curse.
that
They were tortured to death by Bellatrix Lestrange.
Neville Longbottom's parents were not killed, but they arguably suffered something worse. Frank and Alice Longbottom, Auras, members of the Order of the Phoenix, were tortured into insanity by Death Eaters to the point where they couldn't even recognize their own son.
But later in the books,
they're not dead.
In the 6th book, they're dead.
Well, I don't know if they die at some point eventually. I just know that they're like in like the hospital or whatever the famous like big psychiatric place is, because apparently Neville goes to visit them. He lives with his grandmother or something, but he goes and he visits
does live
them.
with his grandmother. Hence, with the boggart with Snape.
Right.
I know that even before watching any of the Harry Potter movies, I have always been able to use his name in a pop culture reference, which is whenever someone started off in their youth as a little chubby and kind of ugly, and then they got hot, you say they Nevilled.
They did indeed Neville.
He Nevilled. He got hot.
It's not a glow up, that's a Neville.
He got Nevilled.
That's a long bottom right there if I've ever seen one. So the things that don't work for me in Goblet of Fire are really almost everything Triwizard Tournament.
He's going to be in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, right?
I have no idea.
I think so.
And again, this could be like the way they do it in the books. Maybe it's accurate. I just feel like you have this big entrance from the other two schools, and the introduction of like their champions, and Cedric Diggory is introduced better than I remembered. I totally forgot that he's in the movie like really early on, and he goes to like the Wizarding World Cup with them and his father and all this stuff, and he's like really sprinkled throughout the movie. But I feel like they introduce these characters and they hype up the tournament, and then we only see we see the 4 dragons in the forest, but we only see Harry's thing. We only see Harry's thing. We don't see or hear really anything about anybody else.
No, we don't see Harry's thing.
The underwater part, you don't see anybody else other than Harry, and then he's there, and he's, like, literally waiting to save everyone. And sometimes people just show up, and the one girl, like, quits because her water thing comes off or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Or she's attacked underwater and saved, I think might be what it is.
Old charm.
Right. But you just get, like, you get so little of this, like, really hyped, grand-sounding tournament, and then you don't see any of it. And it's like, oh, well,
yeah,
that's whatever. And then you're in the maze, and Victor Crumb has the Imperium thing, where he's, like, taked over, which it's not super clear outside, because I don't think anybody in the movie, I don't think Moody is, like, their eyes gloss over. I think that was just a visual thing to be like, you should know something's wrong with him because he's got murky eyes. And it's just like, or he could just be a dickhead. I don't know. He's trying to win, so he's doing whatever he can
it's
to win.
anyone's guess.
So that part doesn't work for me. The like romantic subplot between Ron and Hermione of like asking each other to the dance or not asking in time and stuff sort of works, and it feels like, you know, that's kind of how kids are with like high school dances or whatever. What doesn't work is there's some horrible editing in there where they show up at the ball and they cut and nobody's dancing, and then they Hermione says something and like storms out, and then they cut and Hermione and Ron are just yelling at each other in a hallway, and it felt like it jumped around too much for me. I was like, that was weird. I don't remember that from the first viewing, but it feels really strange watching it now. I will say the saving grace for this movie to me is the graveyard scene. Everything when Cedric and Harry grab the wizard cup and it's a port key and it takes them to the graveyard, and Peter Pettigrew walks out with baby Voldemort, and he abracadabras. First off, I do want to point out that I hate that for the rest of the series, anytime Cedric's brought up, they're like, Voldemort killed Cedric. No, he did not. Peter Pettigrew killed Cedric. Peter Pettigrew did it. And I don't think he ever gets his comeuppings or anything. He did it. Whatever. Everybody forgets about that. Even Harry's like, it was Voldemort. Little cripple baby Voldemort is the one who did it, not the guy holding him. But outside of that whole scene in the graveyard is like fantastic. If the rest of the movie was like that, it might have even been better than Azkaban. But when Ralph Fiennes finally gets to come out and he's like rubbing his bald head and is like, I could touch you and whatever, fantastic.
I like that.
The whole ending to the movie is great. I just think the like build up is kind of like running at maybe like
kind of cheap because it's not.
It's like a 55%, and then it hits the graveyard and it shoots up to like 80% for me. So out of the first 4, that's my least favorite. But I don't think it's really bad or anything. I just think it's kind of a jumbled mess in the beginning and then it's fantastic at the end. He's back. My boy! That's my boy!
Yeah, and then you get to the 5th movie where everyone denies that he's not back.
Then we get to the 5th movie, Order of the Phoenix. Order of the Phoenix is... I honestly don't know how I feel about Order of the Phoenix, to be honest. It's... I don't know. I don't feel like I have strong feelings one way or the other about it. I think it's okay. I don't think its ending is nearly as good as Goblet of Fire. And I feel like, and it might be because I knew it was coming, but when Bellatrix kills Black and he just kind of drifts away, watching it back, that moment felt like really cheap and just like, oh, he's gone. Even Maggie's like, wait, is he dead? I was like, yeah. He's dead. It just, I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't feel like it was, I don't know, shot correctly or didn't really have the emotion that it maybe should have.
Well, because what's it called? Luna discusses, like, you know more about what that archway is in the book. That archway is like a guide to death. And that's why it goes to the same things as the horses that pull the cart.
Is this the
you
movie?
You can't see them unless you've experienced death.
This is not the movie where we're introduced to Luna, is it?
We've already
I
been
think
introduced, right?
No.
We were introduced to Luna at
3 or 4?
Is she not introduced in Half-Blood Prince?
She was she was introduced in 5, because she was at the end of 5. They flew the dead horses to get to London because of fucking Dolores Umbridge. She stopped all the flu gates.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it would be this
the owls.
one. Oh, that's right, because he can see him because he saw Cedric die, not because of Black. That's right.
Yeah, and they explain that gateway a lot more. That's like a gateway to death, and in the books. And so when Sirius died, it made it. I don't know. The movies did not do it justice, and it bothered.
Yeah, I don't think that they did. I think the Voldemort Dumbledore face-off is pretty cool. You get to see some crazy whipping of spells and shit going around.
I did like that.
But like I said, I the rest of the movie just kind of it's fine. It's whatever. Umbridge is like really annoying, but she's also again almost feels like a nothing character for the most part.
Is it that one lady that I
And the
fucking
pink.
hated? Ooh, I hated that bitch.
I warned her. I was like, I'm pretty sure this is like the most hated character by Harry Potter fans.
At one point, there was like a lull after she did or said something, and it was just quiet for a second, and I was like, she's a real see you next Tuesday. I hate her character.
I do think it's fun when they kind of do the montage when she's like taking over. I kind of like, as much as I don't think like the montage works very well like in this setting to kind of progress the story along. I do like when she's interviewing the teachers and she interviews like Trelawney and she's like, read my future. Tell me a fortune or tell me a prediction. And she's like, and she's like, huh. And she's no, I see. Oh, you're gonna. There's danger in your future. And she goes, great, and checks it off and walks away. Or when she's doing Snape and she's like, so you applied to be the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher first? And he's like, yes, but you didn't get it. Obviously. And then Ron laughs and he just smacks Ron in the back of the head. Those are probably some of my favorite parts in the movie. Well, I'll take that back. I think probably the Harry and Black scenes are the best, where they're having like heart-to-hearts and like talking like they're real family and stuff. Kind of helps the movie along. But again, I feel like the rest of the movie is just kind of feels like it's just sort of cruising. Like it's not wanting to take any crazy leaps or anything. It just kind of coasts on its reputation more or less, which is weird because I don't remember feeling that way when I first saw it. But I don't feel like I remembered anything from that movie other than Umbridge, that Black dies, and to be honest, I didn't even remember that that's the one that Bellatrix was introduced in. I kept telling her, I was like, she doesn't come till later, but I was like, oh, I think she might come at the end of Goblet of Fire. And I was like, oh, I guess not. Well, it must be the next movie then.
I was really excited for her to show up, but then she showed up and she sucked.
She showed up and she sucked. So that movie for me, again, if we're just ranking them in order as we're going through, is the worst one for me currently. Number 5 goes under Goblet of Fire. It's just like the most middle of the road feeling kind of movie. It doesn't feel like it has any like crazy stakes going on at all. Umbridge feels like she's pretty much a non-threat the whole time. Dumbledore's just being like a weird dickhead the whole time, and then he's like, I thought if I would help you, then that Voldemort would know things because you have this link. It's like, or you could have maybe just talked to him for a second and then probably figured that shit out with Snape, because you both seem to figure it out pretty quickly after he told you about his first dream. I don't know. That one was a weird one for me.
Was it that one, or was it the next one that I was like, this movie is really just entirely about people having crushes on other people?
We're about to talk about that one. I have heard that people think that this one guy I was listening to, he said Order of the Phoenix is his least favorite book, but one of his favorite movies. Which I don't
understand that.
I don't know.
I don't understand that either.
I don't feel like I've heard one way or the other on like the book side of it. But I've looked at some people's lists for the movies, and I do feel like people often put this one higher up there.
I think it's probably because you get more action out of this one. Like,
maybe.
There's like a constant, like, because
visually
with the building of Dumbledore's army, with learning.
Oh my god! See, even only like maybe five days removed, I totally forgot about everything with Dumbledore's army because they don't matter. They don't do anything. They literally just show up, teach shit, and then they don't do shit. They don't do anything.
What are you talking about? They go the certain number of them. You know, Luna, Ginny, Hermione, Harry.
Okay, yeah. Neville. So the like.
You know what I mean? Like the most important, most important characters. They're the ones that are going to the Ministry to.
Yeah, the two important add-on characters from that movie are Neville and Luna, and all they do is when they're in a library of globes, they go. Pew pew. Like twice. I don't know. I just totally forgot about that. That's where we get the Room of Requirement for the first time, which is like, interesting or something. But even now, again, just like 5 days removed, I totally forgot everything about Dumbledore's army because it's like a nothing storyline. Or it feels like a nothing storyline in the movie. Yes, the two of them go with them to the Ministry or whatever, but
he's taking his glasses
I don't know. Look, that's just my feeling. You can feel however you want. To me, at this point, it's the worst Harry Potter movie.
You're frustrating him.
Don't worry. It's about to change. Everything I just said sounds like Order of the Phoenix is the best movie ever compared to things I have to say about the next one.
Oh, God.
So we're going to get into the fun one, which is
my favorite book.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which is Deepat's favorite book, and he said before he rewatched all these when I mentioned that we were doing it, that it is his favorite movie. He said at the top that has changed, so let's hear from Deepat first on this one. Because I have almost nothing good to say about this movie.
The book was superb. It explained so much.
Really?
And the movie did not do it justice at all. Rewatching the movie, which by the way, I rewatched from this morning. I watched 6 and both 7s before tonight. So I watched them today.
So they're nice and fresh.
Yeah, so Half-Blood Prince was literally this morning when I was watching it. And I'm pissed. But you got to look at, a lot of the story. She didn't want to write a 7th book back then.
Understandable.
She did not. She wanted to end it with 6. She wanted to leave it with. She only wrote the 7th. You know what I mean? To I don't know. But the 6th was supposed to be where she wanted to stop. And Dumbledore's death at the end was... The build-up to it in the book was so much more than what the movie gave. Like, the movie showed you, okay, yeah, Dumbledore, something happened to his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really explain what happened.
Mm-mm.
Kind of explains it with, with destroying of the Horcrux. Kinda explains it. And, that was when he destroyed Tom Riddle's mother's ring. He thought he got a curse. And it was killing him. So, you knew he was... In the book, you knew that something was wrong the whole book. So you knew when he died at the end, you knew you know what I mean? It's like you knew that it was his time to go.
Yeah.
You could tell throughout the whole book that he wasn't going to make it. And in the movie, it just made it look like, oh, everything's going to be okay. And then kind of like right at the end, like the last like half hour of that movie, it was like, okay, something's wrong. Something's going to happen. Like you can just tell they rushed his death. And I don't like it. And Malfoy
I was curious about the hand thing.
Wait, Malfoy's just a little bitch?
Yeah. All he is a scared little coward.
Yeah.
He really pissed me off in that movie.
They did more justice on the Half-Blood Prince in the 7th movie than they did in the whole entire 6th one. Just the one thing alone. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. The book,
Yeah.
If you could read the book was so much better. My favorite book.
Makes me want to read the
When
book
I read
now.
it.
I mean, you can read the book. I'm not reading the book.
What about
It
an
was so
audiobook?
good.
I could possibly do that, but I really don't want to.
You would have more respect for that if you knew about how the book
No,
was.
so here's my history with the Half-Blood Prince. This movie came out in, I want to say 2009. I went to see this movie with a friend who's also a big Harry Potter fan. And I was like, yeah, I like all the movies, so sure, duh, yeah, of course I want to go see the movie. And while we were watching the movie, maybe about halfway through the movie, I went, I don't leave movies ever, but I almost want to leave this movie. And even after, I was like, I don't even know the book, but I feel like they left a lot of shit out of this movie. Because there are things I caught even then that just didn't make any sense to me as to what the hell happened. The thing with Dumbledore's hand being like black didn't make fucking sense.
I was so worried that was
in the
just
movies,
me.
They just go, oh yeah, he already destroyed the ring. And I was like, did he? When did he do that? When did he do that? I don't remember him doing that, but I'll take your word for it.
He destroyed the ring, but when he destroyed the ring, it left him a curse.
Yeah.
Which was killing him.
Because
fact he didn't know that he could use Gryffindor's sword.
Right.
So he found another way to destroy the Horcrux, but it was taking his life. Then he figured out how he could destroy the Horcrux. He figured out how to do it without killing himself. And that's why he tried to give Harry the sword.
Yeah, none of that's in the movie, so don't think about it too hard. The biggest thing that bothers me the most is it's called Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. The Half-Blood Prince should have been called 5 minutes of screen time Prince. Because in the beginning of the movie, when they're in potions class, they're told to get textbooks. Ron and Harry fight over this one. Harry gets it. He opens it up. It's signed property of the Half-Blood Prince.
Now, mind you, they were fighting over the book because there was a new book and then there was a ripped book. They were fighting over the new book. Ron won. And Harry got stuck with the tattered, ripped book.
Oh.
Well, whatever it was. Doesn't matter. Harry opens it up. Property of the Half-Blood Prince.
I was wondering why they were fighting over that.
He uses the book. It's got notes and shit to like change a spell. He makes the perfect luck spell that gives luck. No.
He won
a
that
love spell. Love spell.
He won the luck spell because
Right.
he made the perfect thing. Right?
Liquid death.
Whatever. he makes the thing because the textbook is wrong and the Half-Blood Prince figured it out. And then you forget all about the books. You forget all about that shit. Later up it comes in. He reads it again. There's a spell at the top of it. You forget all about it again. He finds Malfoy crying like a little wimp in the bathroom, and he shoots him with the spell, And then Snape is like, what the hell? And Snape heals him. You forget all about it again. And then eventually, Harry tries to do the spell to Snape again. And Snape's like, you trying to use my own spell against me? I'm the Half-Blood Prince. And it's like, wow, that should be a big reveal. But considering anything to do with the Half-Blood Prince is probably 5 minutes of screen time in this movie, it means literally nothing. It means absolutely nothing in this movie. Half-Blood Prince, it doesn't matter. That textbook could have been wrote by, like, anyone, and it would not have made a difference. Before
we started the movie, I was like, let me guess, the Half-Blood Prince is Harry. And you were like, just watch the movie. And then when he said that, I think he looked at me, and I literally was like, he's the Half-Blood Prince.
It's so dumb. The movie, and look, that's just like the surface level of the problems of this movie. And probably what really hurt this movie a lot is, again, I mentioned it at the beginning, but the books were still coming out, still being wrote while the movies were being made. So when characters like Ginny all of a sudden become a main love interest to Harry, it in the movies feels like it comes out of fucking nowhere, because in all of the 5 movies before this, they've maybe spoke like 3 times. All of a sudden, they're both just horny for each other.
You missed it throughout the whole movies, Krim.
Everyone in this movie was horny.
The first time that when Dumbledore dropped off Harry in the beginning of the Prisoner of Azkaban,
a hug does not count as like sexual tension. It's literally like brother and sister, basically.
When Ginny saw him, she was just like, when she came downstairs and said, "Ma, where's my jumper?" and then saw Harry, she got embarrassed because she had an attraction to Harry.
I took that.
Harry.
I thought that it was more of like she saw him as like a celebrity and she got embarrassed and ran away. Like, oh my god, he's really famous.
No, if you go back and look at it again, you can tell by the way the body language was.
But that's just still.
She had a crush on Harry.
Yeah, but that's nothing.
And then when
all
Harry
of a
was
sudden,
talking about when Harry was talking about it with Hermione, about what do you think Dean sees in Ginny,
she got nice skin.
She's a great witch, very powerful.
She got good skin.
Beautiful. He was using the words, so you could just tell it was.
But isn't that in the 5th movie? Or in the 6th movie, whatever, Half-Blood Prince?
They say that they have
I feel like
skin.
all of this shit, outside of the one where you're talking about she gets embarrassed, all of that I'm pretty sure is in the 6th movie. And that's
the 5th movie. There's
no way that's the 5th movie. Again, Order of the Phoenix being so plain that I forgot things. It's very possible. All I know is all of the love bits of Half-Blood Prince ruined that movie. The chemistry between Daniel Radcliffe and the girl who plays Ginny, Bonnie Wright, is horrible. Like, they have no chemistry at all together. Daniel Radcliffe even says that he's the most embarrassed out of any of his movies on that performance, because he doesn't feel like he clicked at all with her, or that they have bad chemistry. And not just with her, but also with even the guy, Dumbledore. The movie, just all of this love stuff and the back and forth, and it feels like it comes out of nowhere, and then it takes center stage, and the weird, just grossly awkward chemistry, it's so bad. It's so bad. I don't know. I think some of the stuff with Snape's pretty good in the movie. We get introduced for the first time to Narcissus Malfoy, played by the late great Helen McCrory, who's also in Peaky Blinders, and they do like the secret handshake, unbreakable unbreakable vow. That's what it's called. That stuff's good, and seeing Snape like very clearly, like getting the cracks of his character to be like, he's not the hard ass that he actually seems. And him being like, telling Harry, like, shut up, don't do anything, and go up there and whatever. That stuff works, but it's about the only thing that works in this movie. The weird thing where Harry and Dumbledore go to like the cave and Dumbledore gets like drunk off of some seawater or something, and then out of nowhere does his like best Balrog impression by summoning all this crazy ass fire from nowhere. That was weird. All just for a locket that's not a real locket, which is kind of funny in retrospect to like, damn, that man literally ended up dying for nothing, for basically nothing.
Yeah, but then they would have never have known that Regulus got his hand on a locket.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Half-Blood Prince is just bad, and it's not like so bad I'd never watch it again. Bad, but it's just not. It's not enjoyable. It is and I'll go on record now, even including the Fantastic Beasts movies, Half-Blood Prince is the worst movie in all of the Wizarding World universe. It's the worst one. DFAT doesn't agree, but it is.
It hurts my soul because the book was so good.
And I completely get that. I can totally see where if the book is so much better than the movie, then...
Sugi, what's up?
The book does it so much justice.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear a lot of people say that Half-Blood Prince is their favorite book, but I don't ever plan on reading it anytime. And I can understand because I've, again, listened to people talk about like the differences and things, and it makes sense because you get a lot more information and everything. But man, that movie is just not good.
When I was watching it,
and that's even saying it. I still gave it like either a 2 or a 2.5. Like I think it's passable, but it's not good.
Walking into it blindly, I don't think that it was terrible, and I do like.
I give it a 2.5.
I do like knowing that the books didn't do it justice, so I feel like the storyline is probably a lot better than what I saw. But I did feel like I remember we watched that separately that day.
Oh yeah.
I watched it during that.
So that was Monday. We were gonna watch. Sugi, by the way, how are you doing? Welcome in. Are you a Harry Potter fan? Do you like Harry Potter?
Are you a Potterhead?
Are you a pothead? The plan was originally I had scheduled out, and I talked about this a little bit. Each day, what movie we were gonna watch, and we had because last Thursday was when we went and saw whatever fucking movie we talked about last week. I've already forgot. So many movies. We go Thursday nights to see movies, so we went to a movie. We went a little bit earlier. We came home and watched a movie Friday night. Then we watched another movie Saturday, and then Sunday rolls around, and it's supposed to be Half-Blood Prince, but it was so late in the night by the time we got around. Oh, because we'd seen Thursday, we saw a movie in theaters, came home, watched Harry Potter. Friday, we did the podcast, watched a Harry Potter. Saturday, we went and saw a movie, came home, watched Harry Potter. Sunday, we went and saw a movie, came home, started a Harry Potter, but at that point, she was just gone. She was out, so I postponed it, and I said, we're going to have to either double up on one of these next 2 days, or potentially watch 3 movies. Monday, I came home on lunch. Hey, D-Pad, thanks for the gifted sub to Sugi. Enjoy those emotes, Sugi. So I came home on lunch, and we started Half-Blood Prince. We got about an hour or so of it, and then I went back to work. I downloaded it on the HBO app. I watched it on downtime at work. She watched it, was like messaging me the whole time while she watched it.
And at one point I messaged you and I was like, this should be called Harry Potter and the we all flirt with each other.
Yeah,
Harry Potter and who has the crush on who.
Yeah.
The whole movie was just like...
And then just the whole thing about it is like you forget that Slughorn's introduced, which plays a
Oh my
huge
god,
part
he
in-
is introduced. Also, to be fair, I find his character really annoying in that movie.
Oh, he is. The character is super annoying. But it also gives you a clue now to what Voldemort
we do
really
get
doing.
we get a newer version of Voldemort in this movie as well. It's a different actor, but he's supposed to be roughly the same. Look, I think it's unfortunate that I don't know if maybe the actor who was in Chamber of Secrets, like couldn't do Half-Blood Prince, or maybe they felt he was too old at that point or something. I don't think the new kid did poorly or anything. Like, he looks pretty menacing and like a shithead every time there's flashbacks to him. But I think the hot Voldemort from Chamber of Secrets was much more interesting than this like Children of the Corn Voldemort you get in Half-Blood Prince or whenever they do these flashbacks, or if it's the other movies. But it is this one because he's talking to Slughorn and he's like, "Oh, I read about blah 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 blah," and they're like, "What did they talk about? What did you tell them about, Professor?" "I don't know. Come to my fancy dinner where I'm grooming children." It's not exactly grooming children, but it's fucking weird.
I also learned something. The whole time that I lived in England, every time I heard the word snog, I thought that meant sex. So someone would say something like,
They were
"I was
snogging.
just snogging with my boyfriend out back behind the convenience store." In my brain, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Do you think they have wizard convenience stores?
Now I know snogging just means kissing. Here I was walking
In the
around.
back alley of of Diagon Alley, everybody's snogging
Here
this
I was
summer.
thinking, there's a bunch of sluts in my neighborhood just fucking in the back of an Aldi. Oh my god. Okay, now I know it just means kissing.
I snuck into the room of requirements with some Ravenclaw girls.
And we
got some
snogging.
serious snogging going on in there.
Like, Jesus
Ugh.
Christ. Like,
Multiple snoggings going around.
Did you at least clean up after?
oh, again, is this a kid's movie? Oh, it just means kissing. Okay, gotcha. I take back a lot of opinions I had about people several years ago. 5 years ago.
Anyway, yeah, Half-Blood Prince is just... it does some good things. That's why, again, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I think the like slow evolution sort of Snape that you're starting to kind of seep through is good. Kind of learning a bit more about Voldemort is always pretty good. But the romance stuff literally ruins the movie. And then the fact that the screenwriters totally forgot that this movie was called The Half-Blood Prince because they barely left that in the movie also just blows my mind. I think the ending's pretty good. I think for anybody who didn't know that Dumbledore was going to die, that's a pretty big shocker.
I cried.
All of a sudden be like, holy shit, they killed him. I'm pretty sure she was even like, nah. It's like, you've seen so many people.
When I read it in the book, because I read the book before they finished the movie. That's why I was so looking forward to the movie.
I will say,
when I read that Dumbledore died, I was just like,
are you fucking kidding me?
Like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, I don't even want to go see this movie now.
I think it's funny that she asked, like, no, he's not dead. And it's like, you've seen how many people now get shot by the abracadabra? Of course he's dead. But I do remember back in the day on YouTube watching, anytime a Harry Potter book got released, the videos that would pop up of people who got the books early somehow going to like a Barnes & Noble with people waiting in line and just going, Dumbledore dies!
Oh, that's fucked up. That's like spoiling a movie walking out.
It was so fucked up. But the videos were just so funny to me because I was like, I literally do not care.
That would piss me the fuck off.
There were so many videos. I feel like it must have been 4 Half-Blood Prince.
People do that, Sugi.
There were so many videos. It was like, if TikTok was back then.
When the 6th book came out, they did do that.
If TikTok was back then, it literally would have been like a TikTok challenge. It would have been a bunch of shitty teenagers going out with like 100 people waiting in line outside of Barnes & Noble right before midnight and getting a megaphone and just going, Snape kills Dumbledore.
I do have a question from the book, or for the book professional reader.
The expert.
Does it... I felt like you told me this, but maybe I'm wrong. Is it true that when Snape does do that to Dumbledore and he says, please, is that him saying, like, please, you do it so that Draco doesn't have to? Or is that, like, please, I want you? It's like a please, I want you to, right?
Yeah.
He wanted Snape to be the one to kill him. He didn't want to do that to Draco. He didn't want Draco to have to kill him.
I think the thought process is...
he was trying to save Draco.
Yeah, if Draco did do it, at that point he would have gone too far and there's no, like, redeeming
Like, gone
him.
off the deep
But
end.
if you prevent him from doing it, then he can still be, like, redeemed or saved in the end, which is what we end up seeing.
So it's kind of like a Darth Vader kind of moment where, like, he didn't want him to, like, cross that far over onto the dark side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can move on from that shitty movie. And we can talk about... we'll just combine these ones together because we watched them literally back-to-back, and they, I think, service each other better in back-to-back viewings. Deathly Hallows, Part 1 and Part 2. Originally, when I first saw these two movies, I remember liking Deathly Hallows Part 2 less than I liked Deathly Hallows Part 1. Because I thought Deathly Hallows Part 1 did a better job as far as, like, character growth, motivations, like, they were actually, like, outside of Hogwarts and doing things, and, like, it was more, I don't know, more drama-y, I guess, than the other one. But watching it back now, I disagree with my younger self. I don't dislike Part 1, but I can see, like, more, the Part 1's kind of a really slow
burn.
You maybe didn't really need 2 movies. You maybe needed, like, another hour.
Whole thing with it too, dude.
Really?
They could have maybe just made Deathly Hallows
They
instead
made it
of...
a 3-hour-long movie,
Right.
like how they do with these new Spider-Man movies and fucking everything else. If you made it a 3-hour-long movie, you could have condensed most of the stuff in that first one, and you would have been fine. You could have left the whole second one in and cut the first one in half, put them together, and you would have been fine.
And what was the time span between the two of them? Was it just 1 year?
Let me look. I don't know if it was 1 year or if they might have literally been the same year.
Might be right on that. Hold on.
They were a year, so 2010, 2011.
Yeah, it was 2010 and 2011.
Yeah, so watching Part 1 again, it does... again, I'm not sure... Maybe I was just on, like, an anti-Harry Potter kick. So when everyone's like, wow, that movie, it was so slow and boring. I was like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I loved, like, the character development and whatever. But watching it now, it's just like, wow, there's some, like... It's slower, and then there's some really weird shit that they try and do with, like... I told her this. I very vividly remember when that movie came out that Emma Watson was doing an interview, and she said how awkward it was that they had to do the, like, make-out scene where she had to wear, like
chicken cutlets.
I don't know about, like, pasties or whatever,
yeah.
Or if she had, like, one of those wrap things, but they were, like, basically, like, naked, making out.
That came out of nowhere.
It's so weird, but...
I didn't like that.
I don't know. Part one, yeah, I think just what you said, maybe if they cut out half of that movie and tacked it onto Part 2 and just made Part 2 like a 3.5-hour movie, it would have been better. But this is back when you didn't get very many movies that were 2.5 hours long. So, whatever. Part 1, again, I think has a lot of pretty decent stuff in it, though. Between, like, you find out that Snape's now the headmaster. You see a lot of stuff with, like, Voldemort bringing together these Death Eaters and Voldemort being a dick to the Malfoys for, like, he just fucking hates them because they have luscious, beautiful hair and he has none. That's the only reason I can think.
The bitch is back, right?
He's jealous. No, that's in Part 2. But and I said this in my letterbox, like, review for it. Dobby is the absolute MVP of this movie. The ending when the Snatchers, is that what they're called, end up catching all 3 of them and bringing them to Bellatrix, and then
which, by the way, that's the Malfoy house. Yeah,
at the Malfoy house. Everything from, like, that point on is really great. Even though it's literally the ending, maybe 30 minutes of the movie, it's firing on like all cylinders. Bellatrix, like them asking Draco if that's Harry, and him hesitating and not saying anything, or saying that he doesn't know just because his face is a little swollen. And then Bellatrix torturing Hermione and like carving mud blood into her arm. All that's really good. And then all of a sudden, Dobby just is like shows up, and he's like, and they're like, "Damn, can you get out of here?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a house elf. I can do whatever the fuck I want." And they don't kill Peter Pettigrew. I don't think he shows up in the next movie. They freeze him and then lock him in the cellar or something. I don't know. But that scene when Bellatrix is like, "What are you doing, you fucking house elf, you slave? You gotta do what I say." And Dobby's like, "Dobby has no master. Dobby is a free elf," and then leaves. She was crying.
I wasn't just crying.
And
I was like,
Bellatrix stabs him through the fucking heart. Yeah, that sucked.
So I've seen sad movies.
First off, she knew going in that Dobby dies at some point.
I did. I just didn't know when.
I think she was asking leading up to that, "Is this where he dies?" And I was like, I don't know.
I see sad movies, and a tear will roll down my face, and I will dab at it, and I'll pretend like no one can see me.
Yeah.
But
Very
this,
famous.
my very famous.
What's
Nobody,
on the wall?
nobody look
I'm
at
not
me.
Crying.
But this, I was literally doing the like that little gaspy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sobbing.
She was.
I shed a tear when I first saw it in the theater.
This made me very upset.
It was very, very well done.
My eyes.
The whole issue was that I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
That's the worst part.
Yeah.
I read it. So I knew it was coming. I knew exactly when it was coming, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is when." Oh.
Oh, here it comes.
There it goes.
Here it comes. My
And
my
then it
eyelids
happened,
were swollen
and
the
I'm
next
just
day.
like- I remember when I read it, I
Oh,
cried.
well, that's because we watched the next movie, but we'll get there.
Oh, that's right.
So, I mean, that was pretty heartbreaking. She cried on that one.
I forgot.
I just
That's
now
why.
thought about in my head. They should have added. They wouldn't do this, but I almost feel like getting the scene where Bellatrix throws the knife and they port, and cutting back to her and dubbing over her voice in some way. And when Dobby's like, "Dobby has no master. Dobby is free elf," and then teleports and she throws it, cutting back to Bellatrix and her being like, "Free that, bitch."
Oh, I hated her.
Helena Bonham Carter was great in that.
I
in
love
that
Helena
role.
Bonham Carter.
She was
and
great
I
in that role.
hated her so much.
Okay, so let's just talk about the next scene that happens after that then. When Miss Carter has to play Hermione playing Miss Carter, and that acting
Oh,
that
yeah.
That was
perfect.
amazing.
It was very, very good.
That was amazing. And I read somewhere that they spent a lot of time together, right? Like they spent a lot of time together
I wouldn't be surprised.
to make sure that they got like every little thing right.
Yeah, Helen Bonham Carter does great at that part. I will say one thing that's worth mentioning. We get Grip Hook back again in this film, played by a different actor. In the first movie, he's played by Vern Troyer, best known as Mini-Me from the
yeah.
Austin Powers movies. Vern Troyer died at some point. God, why do I always forget his name?
The guy from the Leprechaun.
Yes. Why do
In
I always forget his name?
Star Wars.
Yeah. Warwick Davis
Warwick
takes
Davis.
over the role and plays him slightly differently. So when you watch them so closely together, you can really notice. But Warwick Davis takes over the role of Grip Hook here and plays a much more like. Obviously, he's a much bigger role, but like you can just tell he like if I ever thought about goblins and I wasn't thinking like Lord of the Rings or something. Yeah, this is what I would imagine a goblin would be like.
He's pretty scary.
He's an absolute asshole.
Scary dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the books, they even said like you can never trust a goblin.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
That's what he gets, though. He got fucked.
he
got
did
wrecked.
get fucked.
He got absolutely wrecked. They all got wrecked. I did like the little, like, they put the Imperium curse or whatever on the like, bank manager, and he's just, like, walking around, and it's like...
yeah.
He, at one point, they're, like, Griphook's running away with the sword, and he's doing the rattle thing for the dragon, and the one that's on the spell got his hand in the air, and he's just going...
That was really cute. I like that.
and then he just gets set on fire.
He got fucked.
That poor guy. I like that the other, like, the receptionist goblin, after he was like, haha, the manager told you to get lost, and then he all of a sudden goes, okay. He just looks at him like, what?
Oh,
What?
yeah.
Why? Huh? So part 2, I used to not think part 2 was very good.
I'm gonna go to the restroom.
And I'll explain why. When it came to all of the action that was happening, I thought it was good and kind of fun and everything, but there's the very specific scene when they there's like an armistice for a night. They stop fighting. Voldemort calls off his hounds, and they stop fighting, and Harry and Ron and everybody walks into maybe it's the hospital room or whatever that they always go to. I don't really remember or know which room exactly it is, but they walk in and there's a bunch of bodies on the ground. And we see the Weasley family over because I think Fred is the one who
Great
dies.
Hall, by the way.
Okay, yeah, the Great Hall. So there's all these bodies, and we see the Weasleys all like sad and crying because Fred, I think it's Fred, is on the ground because Fred was killed. And Ron goes over there and they're like hugging each other, and it's supposed to be like this emotional moment. You're supposed to feel something. And then Harry looks down, and there's Remus and Tonks, sort of holding hands, both dead. We don't... In the first movie, I don't think they quite say it, but I know in the books they got married at one point. I don't think they get to fully say that in the movie. I think she's about to say it, and they get cut off. And then there's the kid. I think that scene is probably one of the worst scenes in the Harry Potter movies because they give you no time or anything to really care at all that these characters died. It's sort of... It's in there, you see that they're dead, you don't get much time to really, like... and even Harry feel like he's just kind of blank at this point, like emotionless. He doesn't look like he's all that bothered that these important people in his life just died, and he just leaves. And for me, I feel the same way. It's like, I like Remus as a character a lot. Tonks you don't get much time with, but she's kind of cool and whatever. But Remus was a really big one and a fun, good character. And then Fred, one of the twins, who's in every other movie and always was like fun in the movies, you just get this like 5-minute scene that gives you no time or seemingly doesn't even care enough to let you grieve at all about these characters. It's you're in, you're out, you got other shit to handle. And I think that is, like I said, one of the worst scenes in all these movies because it's handled so poorly on the directing side of it. And I don't know if it's like that in the book, or maybe they do a better job of explaining that when Harry sees them, that he just feels like he's seen so much death or all of this stuff is hitting him at one time that he just feels like empty or something. But it's not portrayed well at all in this scene, and I absolutely hate it.
No, the book does it more justice.
The twins?
Yeah, when he walks in and he sees Fred dead and then Remus and Tonks, and it just like you could blink and you'd miss that scene, and you just don't know.
I was upset about that because even before watching any of the movies, I feel like I read a Twitter or a Reddit post or something. A Twitter, I don't know. I read something once that said that when those twins were filming that scene, the one, was dead, and the other one, they were saying that they ended up uncontrollably sobbing because they felt like they were so in the moment. They were really feeling like, oh, this is, my brother looks dead. Like, this is and so it was like an authentic reaction, and I thought you'd get to really see that, and then
you don't.
we didn't see it. So
Yeah.
I had always heard that, and I thought that was going to be a big improv moment in the movie,
Improvised,
and then I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, again, that's like, I used to, outside of Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows Part 2 used to be my least favorite of the movies, and it was solely because of that. But rewatching it, as much as I still think that scene is done horribly, I think the rest of the movie is almost firing on, like, all cylinders, nearly the whole time. I think we should, we'll kind of speed up on these.
So you got to look at it this way. The Deathly Hallows Part 2, it literally started off with Escape from Gringotts. Like, it started with going to Gringotts, and then that whole thing that happened, and then it's literally, as they're flying through the air on the dragon, they got that Horcrux, they got the cup, which, by the way, they don't even explain what that cup is. You know that, right? They don't even explain what that chalice is. That chalice, it comes from Hufflepuff. So, like, if you go through the books, you'll see that he made his Horcruxes into things that were part of, like, history with Hogwarts. Like, you know what I mean? The cup was from Hufflepuff. The crown from Ravenclaw. Like, they didn't really explain most of those things, and in the books they did. Everything had a precedence. Like the locket, if I'm not mistaken, the locket was Slytherin.
I think so.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that they missed.
I just think
movie.
two has a way better pace, and it's really because they saved all of the big set pieces for the second movie. Like you said, Gringotts, the going back to the Chamber of Secrets, the Room of Requirements, the big fucking fire that happens there, the first part of the battle, the second part of the battle. What is easily the best part of the movie is Snape's death and the following scene where he tells him to take his tears to go look at his memories. And you finally get the big reveal that Snape had been a double agent basically the whole time. All out of his love for Lily from a child growing up, in that the whole time, and he tells Dumbledore, Dumbledore asks him, do you really love the child or something? And he says, always, or something like that. And then he does his Patronus, and his Patronus is a doe, which I don't think they explain it in the movies, but if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be something like, if you really love someone with like all your heart, or really love someone, your Patronus can take on their Patronus's form. And the doe was Lily's Patronus, so Snape, because he loved her so much, has the doe and even uses the doe. That scene's kind of confusing when he uses the doe and it seems to go and guide Harry. That part seems a little confusing, like he just did it and it just went to Harry, or did he, like, it was an accident, or he knew that Harry needed help, so he did it? That's not really explained well.
Snape's the one that put the fake sword in Gringotts. So Snape had the real sword of Gryffindor. So when Snape found out where Harry was, Snape fucking put the sword out in the woods and brought Harry to the sword.
Okay.
With the doe.
Maybe I'd have to watch it again, but I feel like that's not explained super well in the movie. But it doesn't take anything from that scene. That scene is literally gut punch, like rip your heart out central. That scene is so great, and Alan Rickman does amazing as this. The past 7 movies, he's been this like hard, like no emotions, sort of by the books person. And then to be revealed that he's literally like this tortured soul who he went the wrong way when he was younger, but he came back because of his love for Lily, that he didn't want anything bad to happen, and he gave over his like everything to work with Dumbledore to try and save her. And then when it didn't work, when he saw that Harry was still alive, he basically decided, like, for the rest of his time, he's going to do anything to keep Harry safe. All of those, I don't know if I've ever seen her cry harder during a movie.
I've never cried that hard during a movie. Maybe when I saw Marley and Me and they put that dog down. But I've not cried that hard. Like, I couldn't stop it.
Yeah. And that was like, she cried at the Dobby scene, and then 2 hours later, even harder at the Snape stuff.
The next morning, I looked like I was in a fight. My eyes were so swollen. My face was so puffy.
The Snape scene hits hard.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And Neville finally gets his shining moment by... He just
cried at that too.
He just randomly picks up the sorting hat because it's there on the ground, and why not? And then later on, he gets to rip out or he sees that the sword is spawned in front of him, and then he uses it later to cut Nagini's head off.
The best part was that while I was sobbing uncontrollably, I was still asking questions about the movie, and I couldn't like form it.
When Neville first picked up the hat, if you pay attention,
the sword appears. Yeah,
you can hear that the sword is in the hat the whole time. So when Neville walked up to say something, Neville knew that the sword was right there to defend himself.
Oh, my heart.
I did like the first time that Bellatrix showed up in, I guess maybe it was Order of Phoenix, and she's like in front of, or I guess it's when they're in the Globe hallway library, and Neville sees Bellatrix, and he's like, he says something real quick. He's like, "Yeah, but you're gonna be dead," and then he goes to like shoot her. That was good. Anyway, yeah, I think Deathly Hallows is great. For me, if we were to put just the Harry Potter movies in order, just the 8 films, for me, after watching them back, it goes Prisoner of Azkaban, 1, 2, Deathly Hallows Part 2, Goblet of Fire, Part 1, Order of the Phoenix, and then the bad Half-Blood Prince. If I had to put them in order. I feel like the top 5 are all pretty solid and pretty close together, but I think, and we'll get to it once we add the Fantastic Beasts, but I think 2, 3, 4, or 2, Harry Potter 1, 2, and Deathly Hallows Part 2, you could pretty easily interchange those for top positions, in my opinion, but Azkaban is definitely number 1. Half-Blood Prince is definitely last. He hates it because he loves the book so much that he wants to like Half-Blood Prince more.
He looks like he's a CEO and he's sitting at the head of the table.
He's judging my tastes. That's all. But yeah, we'll quickly, because we're already at 2 hours, so I'll try and get through this pretty quickly. I knew it would be kind of long because there's so many movies, but we kind of talked about a lot of them really fast. So we'll do the Fantastic Beasts 1 and 2 basically as the same thing, and then we'll give our review of Dumbledore and then get out of here. So Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was wrote by J.K. Rowling. So she decided to take her hand at writing a movie, and it takes place in the 20s, and it's about Newt Scamander going to America to try and release this big lightning bird thing in Arizona, in the plains of Arizona, as he says, and getting into a lot of mischief. Now, I think the thing that most people would probably agree that Fantastic Beasts does really well is the beasts themselves. Especially in that first movie, you get to see a lot of different creatures that you've never seen in a Harry Potter movie before. There's the little twig guy, which is like a lockpick, and just kind of hangs out in his little front pocket, whatever those are called.
And then my favorite.
You get the Niffler, which...
There's more of them.
Yeah.
In the suitcase.
Oh, yeah. But
really?
Mainly he's got that one little buddy that hangs out with him. There's the
That's the one that won't leave him.
Right. There's the Niffler that Maggie really loves. The little
love Niffler.
mole platypus thing that likes to steal shiny objects.
I want a stuffy of him so bad.
Which
he's so cute.
Is a great animal and has fun little scenes where he's a little kleptomaniac shoving shit into his little pouch. We get like this crazy weird like rhino thing that's got this like big bulbous head that's like trying to mate with animals at a zoo. The big lightning bird is really good. We get to see this big like snake bird thing that can shrink and expand in size. The animals in the movie are great.
Love them.
Forget about the seaweed monster. In the ocean.
That's in the second one. But yeah, there's the seaweed dragon.
It's the seaweed horse dragon.
The seaweed horse. The kelp.
Kelp.
It's called the kelp something. I think. Or kale something?
I think it's kelp something.
Whatever. Yeah. So the beasts in all these movies are great. The first movie, I will say, the story, while it seems... I think maybe something that really threw people off is while the story's called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and it does have a lot of the beasts, it's not so much about that as much as it is about this... I don't think in any of the Harry Potter movies we're ever told about an Obscurus. So we get introduced to this thing called an Obscurus, which is this where somebody who has magic abilities represses it so much that it basically like eats them from the inside out to eventually they die, and they're like this dark energy ball mass thing. And we learn there's one in New York City, and we meet a couple side characters, a nomad or muggle, played by Dan Fogarty, who is like the comic relief. He's pretty fun to like see interact with like these magical things for the first time, because you don't really funny. Outside of the first movie you don't really get that when Harry's like basically new to this, but Harry's magic, so he picks it up really quickly, whereas Dan Fogarty's character, what's his name? Something with Jacob. That's right. Jacob isn't at all, so he's like, whoa, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. Crazy shit. We get Queenie.
Trying to be a baker, man.
Yeah, we get we get Queenie and Tina. Queenie is basically clairvoyant, which I don't think we've seen in the franchise before, which is pretty cool. Is it clairvoyancy? She can read people's minds. Whatever.
It's like I believe they called it an oculence, oculament, or something maybe. Like that.
She's pretty interesting, though. I do think her like Betty Boopy voice is kind of annoying. And she's like,
"Oh, you gotta remember,
honey, honey." I know, but it's still annoying.
She's got a little bit of Betty Boop mixed with like Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
kind of.
Tina's a nice addition because we've never really seen like an aura before. We had Mad Eye Moody, and a couple would like appear in sort of backgrounds, but we never had like an actual person who was an aura kind of show up. Even though technically she's not an aura in the first movie, she was. So that's fun. I think Colin Farrell is great in this movie as the fake Grindelwald. He's pretending to be this guy. I think he's fantastic in this movie. And I think Ezra Miller, we won't really talk about how he broke into somebody's house and threatened to kill him and his wife in Hawaii. Except for when I just mentioned it. But I think he's good as Credence in this movie, as well as like this tortured kid who's like, he was abandoned and he feels alone and he's like repressing this magic that he has inside of him to where he becomes this Obscurus. Jenkins. I'm gonna guess that's Olag, if it eventually pops up.
Sweet Jesus.
Or Legitimens. That's what it is. That's what Queenie is.
What is she?
It's called the Legitimens.
Legitimens.
Is being able to read minds.
So the first movie I think is pretty fun. Is it like fantastic, like its namesake? No, not really. The animals and stuff are fun. Eddie Redmayne doing like the weird like mating dance thing he does with the rhino thing is entertaining and fun. For me, the part that falls off is the reveal that Colin Farrell is just like a mask that Johnny Depp's wearing. It's not popping up on the screen that is being used, but I'm also assuming that was probably Olag again.
Olag!
because he's the
Every
only one,
time.
he's the only one that does the sound effects. So I
scared
think the
the
first
shit out of
movie's-
me.
I think the first movie is fun. It's in the lower half of the movies for me, but that's just because it doesn't do anything too amazing. It's fun. I like everybody in it. I don't particularly care for the end reveal, and I'll get more into that to the second one. But I don't know. What did you think, as the Harry Potter fan? What did you think about their first attempt of a non-book-based movie?
I thought it was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but then at the same time, you gotta take it for what it is. They're trying to tell a whole new story.
Yeah.
So which means, especially where there's no book, so now you're gonna have to get into that character development. You're gonna have to get into explaining who Newt is and who Jacob is and who Queenie is and who Tina is, and you gotta try to build it, but at the same time try to tell an entertaining story so you would want to go see the next one.
Right. I almost feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot, because before this came out, when it was about to come out originally, it had already been announced that they were planning a 5-movie series with the Fantastic Beasts. Obviously, we're going to review the third one here in a moment, but the third one only just came out, so it's and WB's already said, depending on how this movie does, is going to determine if they make a fourth one, because of one, I don't think the first two did too spectacular. I'm sure they did well, financially, but I don't think they saw sort of the numbers that they were hoping for in comparison to Harry Potter outright. And then obviously everything with Ezra Miller, they've said that they're not doing anything with Ezra Miller. Currently, all of his shit's on hold. Outside of, we assume, the Flash movie, which is right on the cusp of being released. So if they don't release that, I'd be kind of surprised. But everything moving forward is on pause with him.
Do not acknowledge Oleg at all.
They probably do. Only
don't acknowledge him.
3 spells.
He shot my blood pressure up.
So the second movie in the Fantastic Beasts is The Crimes of Grindelwald, and I will say that this movie, when I first saw it, I don't feel like I really cared for it much. I thought it was fine. It was entertaining. It has some good stuff in it. But rewatching it this time, which was definitely only the second time I've ever seen it, boy, I do not like Johnny Depp in this role as Grindelwald at all.
I disagree. I liked him.
I just, and this, maybe it's just me, but I feel like Johnny Depp for the last 20 years of his career has only been being Captain Jack Sparrow, basically.
That's
or just Johnny Depp.
But that's the same thing that
I just don't like him in this role.
Ryan Reynolds is the same way. He always kind of plays the same kind of character.
Well, I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts on people who just portray the same character over and over again. There are people who can do it well, people who don't. I just don't think Johnny Depp was very good in this role. And it could also be that the movie's not very good. The movie is it's an absolute mess. It is all over the place. It almost feels like they shoehorned in Ezra Miller's credence into the movie, because, I mean, yes, it's clear that a part of him survived from the first Fantastic Beasts, but in the second one, it just feels
Agreed, Oleg. It's too busy being beaten up.
It just feels like he was kind of shoehorned in, and then then we have Lita Lestrange, who's played by Zoe Kravitz. She's fine in the movie, but it also feels like they just threw in the name Lestrange to be you guys know that name.
Yeah.
You know Lestrange from in the Harry Potter movies. Haha, that's cool. I like some of we get introduced to Newt's brother, Theseus, I think is his name.
Theseus.
We get introduced to him, and he's an actual proper Auror, which is nice. Tina's still there, which is pretty nice. Jacob is kind of brought back in sort of again, it kind of feels shoehorned in to be the mind wipe thing didn't really work on him because of love.
It didn't fully work. He had some memories, and then Queenie filled him in on the rest of the stuff. It
there's so much in this movie that feels like, it wasn't really fully thought out a lot. But there's some things that do work pretty well. And I think most of that is really, like, the ending scene when Grindelwald, like, brings all these people in. And then he sets that bitch on fire. And it's all just this blue flame that, like, everybody gets killed. Unless you're like, I like Grindelwald.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny that we got to see the guy who made the Philosopher's Stone. And he's, like, this...
Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah, this old-ass, decrepit, like, he should definitely be dead alchemist dude.
Oh, yeah.
Who's just, like, they're in his house, and then he just appears at one point, and Jacob's like, what the fuck? Sorry, we didn't mean to introduce. He's like
Yeah, sorry,
whatever.
there's no food
Whatever.
here. I haven't eaten in like 100 years.
Yeah,
I literally looked at Patrick and I was like, as in, like, Full Metal Alchemist?
No,
Technically,
he's the one that made the the Philosopher's Stone that was used in the first Harry Potter.
so
Hence
it's
why that's the place that Dumbledore sent
right.
Newt to.
I will say, I think Jude Law is up there as one of the best casting decisions. I think him as a young Dumbledore is great. I think he's good in Crimes of Grindelwald, though he has, like, a very small sort of role. I think he's really good in that. But Crimes of Grindelwald is just kind of a mess. It's sort of all over the place, and it's got a lot of things sort of going on at once that don't really go anywhere. And it's just supposed to get to the point of, like, Queenie joins Grindelwald, and then and the Niffler steals the Blood Pact thing. And that's, like, all that matters in that movie. Nothing else really matters at all.
I think one of the first things that I said to Patrick...
Oh, and also, the at the end of the movie, they go, "You're a Dumbledore," and then they end it, and people are supposed to be like, "What the fuck? He's a Dumbledore?"
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's supposed to be the big draw.
But it was something...
you get a movie question, apparently. I hope you're ready.
Ooh.
You can keep saying your thing.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I remember at one point, I looked at you and I was like, I like that they made Dumbledore a fox. Like, they got Jude Law to be young Dumbledore.
And
You're
then
gonna
whoever
make
the
him
lady
hot.
is that plays a young McGonagall.
Yeah.
Although, apparently, I think one of the things people don't like is that, I guess McGonagall maybe isn't supposed to be that old as they make her seem to be. I think that's apparently some people have issues with the ages of some characters in, especially Crimes of Grindelwald. Because, and I think specifically it's with Minerva because she shows up as like 20 something when I don't know if she, whatever. Anyway, D-Pad, here's your question. Sci-fi. Hope you got your movie hat on. In what Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet film are people's memories of relationships erased?
Easy.
Easy if you've seen the movie or know of the movie.
Is that the Truman Show?
No.
No, I don't know. Wait.
You gotta break one of your wands. That's the rule.
Yeah, you can kiss my whole ass for that.
It was horror sci-fi, and I assume that's not really a horror movie. So sci-fi
It's a
because
sci-fi
it's
movie.
futuristic-y with the memory wipe stuff. It's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Anyway, yeah, Crimes of Grindelwald is bad. To me, it's the second worst movie out of all of them. So it'd be Half-Blood Prince, and then Crimes of Grindelwald. Pretty much on, like, evil leveling there. But let's get to, like, the main thing why we're here. Let's talk about the secrets of Dumbledore. 2.5 hours into this thing, we'll try and make our reviews pretty short here. You can lead the conversation. What did you think? Tell us about the movie.
I liked it. I did almost doze off at one point.
No, she definitely did.
Just for like a minute. It just felt a little slowly paced at one point. But outside of that, I've made it a point not to say something that I liked that could be a spoilery thing.
Mm-hmm. If it was in the trailer, it's fair game. But I don't know if you remember if it was in the trailer or not.
I felt like I got a little bit of more explanation on some of the characters. I was really excited about the beasts that we got to meet, and I don't know. I wish that there was like an end credit scene, or there was something else that there were a couple of things after having watched the last two ones where we got kind of a taste of people that when they were younger that
She wants to see more people when they're young.
yeah, I want to see baby.
And I keep having to remind her that these movies take place in the 20s,
I
and a lot of those
know.
people probably weren't born yet.
I want to see baby Dobby.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know how old elves could be, but
I wanted to see more people when they were younger, and I didn't get that, and that's okay. But I liked the progression. I liked the tone of the movie. We got a couple nods to past movies, which were good. So I really liked it. I'm glad that I did not fall asleep and I was able to rally. Kept on trekking.
all right, D-Pad, what are your thoughts? Here comes the wizard expert.
All right, so without
Anything that was trailer, anything in the trailers is fair game. You can
Nope,
talk about.
I'm
Wait.
not gonna say. I'm going to be as vague as I possibly can.
Can I ask you if this is a spoiler?
So, with everything that happened in that movie, I really hope that they don't end it there.
No, I wouldn't say that's a spoiler.
You know what I mean?
No?
So I hope that they do enough revenue to where they can continue that story. Because now, I think this is when they can start making their big money. Because I think they can tell a really good story going forward now. With everything that happened in it. And as far
totally
as like
agree.
how the characters went and how development of characters went further, I thought you got to learn a lot more about what was going on. You got a bigger picture of everything that happened.
Totally. You're sure that's not a
And-
spoiler?
A lot of things are coming into
That
fruition.
Dumbledore's gay? No. That was the thing that J.K. Rowling's came out and said, like, after the last book came out.
So, I just think I hope that they continue it because the story
Maybe
was
don't say
so
that.
good in this one.
I don't know.
And the way that they ended it, they can't let it end like that.
Definitely not.
I agree that the way it ended, it would really be kind of a travesty if they did not at least make a fourth one. If they don't make a fifth one, cool. As long as you can wrap up and tell the story, sort of like you're saying, where it's leading to in the next one, then you wouldn't necessarily need a fifth one. I feel like word of mouth is probably gonna spread, and the fans are gonna be like, you know what, this one, go see it, definitely see it, sort of thing. So it might make enough money to warrant them greenlighting the next one, and I do hope that they do.
I hope so too. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Because I would say,
I really like a good shell game. You know? I really
yeah,
do.
3-card Monty, yeah.
Yeah. A good
I'll
three-card
say,
Monty.
I think that out of all of the, just specifically the Fantastic Beasts movies, this one is easily the best one. It's almost comparable to how Azkaban is the best one, but if only there was like Azkaban and then maybe like Order of the Phoenix was next, because this one is much better than Fantastic Beasts and way better than Crimes of Grindelwald, but better than Fantastic Beasts. You get really kind of the best of both worlds in this movie. You get the beasts. You get a lot of new creatures and beasts we've never seen before, and you get new interacting with them as you think he should be, being a magizoologist or whatever they call it. So you get a lot of different creatures and stuff, and they all look great, and there's really new, interesting ones that are fun. You get a lot of the returning characters are nice that you get to see. So again,
Characters are
all
nice,
this is just from the trailers, but you get the one that is kind of weird for me is Queenie, and it could be the amount of time that passed since The Crimes of Grindelwald and this one, but there were moments where I thought it was a totally different actress, and it's not. And it's just like, I don't know if maybe
I thought that too.
Maybe it's just like because her voice, and it could be a decision that she made as an actress, but like her tonality sounds a little bit different. And maybe that's just what they were going for, but at times I actually thought it was a different actress, and I double-checked today to make sure that it wasn't. It's the same actress. You get the brother Theseus back. You get a guy who was introduced in Grindelwald. He's a French... I don't think he's an Aura, but he's a wizard who was there to try and kill Credence.
In French, he was Arab. He was the one that was trying to...
I'm pretty sure he's French.
Oh, Credence. His name was Yusuf.
Yes, Yusuf. That's his name. He's back, and he's... I don't know. I feel like he's a take it or leave it sort of character. But he's back, and he's fine in the movie. I do think, and I've seen some other people say this, and I kind of agree with it. I think Dan Fogel as Jacob kind of steals the show in the movie. He really brings a lot of not just comic relief, but like new, like emotional stuff to the story, and he's got a lot going on. And,
I feel like we got to see the most of him.
Probably the most character development from him. What I really liked is Jude Law's Dumbledore. We get so much more of him in this movie, and again, I think he's fantastic as Dumbledore. Like he feels like a great mix between the original actor and the second actor. He feels like he's sort of the in-between, where he's almost everything he says at like a calm, level-headed manner, but he can but you can feel like he could be like, we get in the later Harry Potter movies, the Dumbledore who knows all these crazy spells and can do all this stuff, and we get a little bit of him in Order to the Phoenix fighting Voldemort and doing all these spells at once and whatever. And Jude Law gets like the perfect balance. Like, he's calm in his delivery, and everything feels like he's trying to think like 6 steps ahead, and then he's just whipping out all these crazy spells and all this stuff.
And he's easy on the eyes.
He's easy on the eyes. He's the plot of the movie is also structured much better, although I feel like there's some bits that are a bit too predictable. It's supposed to kind of go... They set it up as a certain way, but it's very clear from almost the beginning the way that it's probably going to end up. So there's no real like shocks or surprises that come up. But I also agree with D-Pad. Some of the new characters they introduced are great. The teacher, I don't remember what her name is, but she's a teacher from somewhere. So she's from somewhere that or is she from America? Because she knows Tina.
American schools.
She's from the American schools, and she's a teacher, so she's really good. We get a lot of like pairs in this movie, people paired up who all work very well together.
Good chemistry.
So again, just like the magic that they have, the beasts that they have, everything in this movie is really good. Like I said, there's the predictability is a bit of an issue for me, and then there's 1 or 2 characters who I feel like are just like, I don't know if they necessarily needed to be there, and then there's one character in specific that I wonder if there's more behind the scene reasons as to why this character is featured so little instead of being one of the more central characters. But I will say what Deepak said, when you get to the final act of the movie, when there's maybe 30 minutes left in the movie, that's like a rough estimate, it is some of the best Harry Potter stuff that we've seen really out of any of the movies. Like, it gets really good. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I will say, Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald, I wish it was Grindelwald like the whole time. Originally, before this movie, I always said I wish Colin Farrell was just Grindelwald, that when Newt did the like revealing thing, that maybe his eyes changed colors, maybe they gave him gray hair or something, but it was still Colin Farrell and not Johnny Depp. But I think Mads Mikkelsen just he plays the Johnny Depp felt too much like, for me, like you could kind of see like him and Voldemort being more or less kind of the same. He felt more samey to Voldemort, whereas Mads Mikkelsen looks to be playing like Voldemort's playing like just normal chess. Grindelwald's playing like 4D chess. He's like planning way ahead. He's got move after move after move, and he thinks he's got everybody in checkmate and he's ready to beat people. He felt, and this is a weird thing that I've seen some people discuss, like who was more of a threat, Grindelwald or Voldemort? And people always go, well, Grindelwald was literally worldwide like wanted and dangerous, and you get that in this movie. And Voldemort was always just like, yeah, I'll fuck up the UK. That one school, that's all I want. I just want that one school. He doesn't do shit else. He goes after one teenage boy at a school, and like nobody else in the world seems to give a fuck about it. Grindelwald is actually like on a global scale, and they do
That's a good point.
I feel like they did a great job in this movie of making that threat feel real. And then D-Pad, I'm gonna keep it vague too and not really say anything, but that scene with those characters and the shit that happened right before the ending, like you said, they can't just leave it that way. When that shit like actually popped off, honestly, I think that might be my favorite scene out of all of the Harry Potter movies. That was so cool, and now I can't, like, I hope in the fourth movie, or even if it's in the fifth movie, if they end up still wanting to do 5, I want that, but on the scale that is supposedly, like, it's always hinted at that there was that great battle or whatever. Oh, dude, if, like, I want to see that. I want to see more of that shit, because that was so cool.
Oh, well, also, too, at the same time, you have to make sure that you have to get that fourth movie, because that fourth movie...
At least the fourth movie, yeah.
Because you need to know how certain people got certain things and got to where they were.
Yep.
To go into the next one.
I was, I didn't know what to really expect out of this movie. I had seen some people who got to see it early do their reviews, and one person in particular said, yes, it's the best out of the Fantastic Beasts movies, but that's not saying much because I didn't really like those other ones anyway. I kind of disagree with that. I like this movie quite a lot. It's not like, changing the world or anything, but I would be rather surprised if they end up not getting at least a fourth movie out of this. Like, it'd be a shock.
They would.
But for me, we can go into the rating now. I'll let you go since you always come up with something creative. What would you rate this movie? And would you suggest people see it?
Specifically this movie?
Yes. Yeah, we're not rating all the Harry Potter movies. Just
I would rate this 8 out of 10 snifflers. Snifflers?
Nifflers.
Nifflers.
8 out of 10 Nifflers. What about you, D-Pad? Out of 10, what would you give it? And would you suggest people go see it? You didn't say that part, but
I suggest people go see it.
I'd give it 8 Nargles.
Do you think people should go see it?
I definitely think if you even remotely enjoyed the first 2, you need to go see the third. Because I think if you see the third and then you go back and you look at the other 2, you can kind of see where they're gonna go. It kind of puts things in more perspective.
Okay. So you both said 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I said 8 Nargles.
I disagree slightly. I give it a 7 out of 10, but only because there's those handful of little, like, they're kind of nitpicky, But
well, you are nitpicky.
I feel like there's like the movie could have been cleaned up a bit, and I feel like the one Yusef guy, I feel like he should have been replaced with a different character. And again, I don't know if maybe like if it was fully intentional to go that way, or if it was something behind the scenes that prevented them. It feels like there's just some pieces that they were putting this puzzle together, and they got the outline, and they got all the pieces, and then they put one of the pieces in upside down or something. Like it's still, still pretty much complete. It's still all there, but there's just those few things that bother me. That it's the plot points. This is pretty predictable from right away, and then there's the handful of other small things that are just like, But the ending alone, like, absolutely great, just great. It's like it's worth seeing just for the ending. I think Harry Potter fans will probably like this a lot more than they may have liked the other two. And then again, like Deepat said, I think if you like the Fantastic Beasts movies in general, you'll probably really like this one because you get the Fantastic Beasts stuff, but then you get a lot of more sort of Harry Potter-ish things with a lot of callbacks to Harry Potter and things showing up and appearing that are references and whatnot. But you get a lot more Harry Potter inside of your Fantastic Beasts. That was Dumbledore's secret. He shoved a lot of Harry Potter in there.
I don't like the way you worded that.
Hey, look, at least I'm not the one. I have a friend who literally thinks that whenever J.K. Rowling came out and said that Dumbledore is gay, which was in some interview she did after, like a year or two after the final movies, way before Fantastic Beasts came out, he was like, that's a really big deal. That explains so much why Dumbledore likes Harry Potter so much. And I was like, what? Does it?
She said he's gay, not a fucking child molester.
That's
Yeah,
what
he's
I was
not.
thinking.
There's a difference between being gay and being a pedophile.
I always just thought it was like a fatherly type thing.
I didn't get any
I don't know.
inclination.
I don't know. It was weird. That's just what he said, but maybe one time if he ever joins us, I can question him about that. He can explain it better, but it was weird.
One time at band camp.
It's one time at band camp. So for me, for my final ratings, if we put the movies in order, it's Azkaban, Philosopher or Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Deathly Hallows Part 2, Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore, Goblet of Fire, Deathly Hallows Part 1, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Order of the Phoenix, Crimes of Grindelwald, and at the lowly bottom, Half-Blood Prince. I was waiting for it. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's good. I think that's probably going to be the movie people see this weekend if they see anything. The only other big release is Father Stu, the Mark Wahlberg movie where he's a boxer turned priest, which we'll go see this weekend. I do want to see it. I think it looks pretty good.
Wait, I have a question for...
What?
I have a question.
Go ahead. You can ask your question.
Okay, was it the first movie or the second? I think it was the second movie. Game of Thrones guy, he's got the cat.
Yes.
Okay, the cat got paralyzed, but there was blood dripping, and then they wrote the message with the blood. How was it not dead? How did they get blood out of it and it was just paralyzed?
I
don't know. She's asking about the janitor's cat.
About Chamber of Secrets with Mrs. Norris. If you actually go back and look, I believe at the end of the movie they were talking about how Ginny was the one that was writing the messages on the wall.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the blood of Miss Norris. It was the blood, I believe, that was out of the book. The journal.
Oh.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah. I didn't understand that.
Because I think she thought the cat was dead, and I was like,
I thought the cat was dead.
Paralyzed.
But then they brought it back, and I was like, well, it lost all that blood, so how is it back to life?
That was petrified.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It saw the basilisk off the reflection of the water.
So,
On the floor.
that's Harry Potter. We went over everything. This was a longer episode than usual,
Very
so
long.
I won't keep D-Pad too long. He looks like he's ready to fall asleep.
Or punch you in the face.
Or he's just really mad that I want to shit on Half-Blood Prince so much. Overall, I think even though we
Abracadabra, you.
we crammed them in, I would never probably do that again. I just did it because I wanted to get all caught up and stuff to see the
And
movie.
I'd never seen them
And
before.
she'd never seen them before. But overall, I think it was a pretty good experience, start to end. Again, even though we were literally like cramming a shit ton of stuff together.
My favorite was the first one, and the timey-wimey one, and then
good.
it's hard to say that I loved the last ones, but they made me cry so much.
Yeah.
But I did like them, and I felt like it had a nice bow, they tied a nice ribbon on the end of the story there. So
Yeah. So, thanks to D-Pad again for joining us, our resident wizard expert. With
Thank
all
you,
of his
D-Pad.
wands, and his Doctor Who love for David Tennant, who is in.
I'm gonna find
Harry
your
Potter.
address and go there and rob you and take your special.
Good luck.
Here's your special one-of-a-kind wand
Good-
from the movie.
good luck.
There's a whole safe that way that's full of things that are not wanted.
Protection spells. Protection spells.
I can be pretty dodgy.
You can always find him at twitch.tv/D_pad86. So you can follow him there, follow him anywhere, and listen to his great Boston accent tell you to fuck off or find your cock
Or
keys in
make
the
you a
cock
butt of
keys.
beer.
Hey,
But-
hey. I can talk about what it is, right? Fuck out of here.
Butt of beer.
Butt of beer.
What a beer.
So we're gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna hit a raid to Laffenstein, who's streaming currently some game, but he's a movie person, so we can go in there and say hello to him. He likes movies. We like movies. We like people who like movies. And then next week, what is next week? Next week is the 22nd. There's a shit ton of movies coming out next week.
Really?
We have a couple options of what we can talk about. It's either the amazing talent of Nicolas Cage or whatever that movie is called,
Oh, yeah.
My
or
God, I'm not missing that movie.
Bad Guys, the animated one, and then another one which is, hold on, let me find out, because there's three, and all three I'm kind of looking forward to.
Listen, there is no fucking way in hell I am missing that Nicolas Cage movie. There's no way.
Let
I
me.
cannot miss that train wreck.
The train wreck.
So next week we have. That's what it is. So there's almost certainly we're not going to talk about the Bad Guys on the podcast. It's definitely not what we're seeing Thursday. We will see it that weekend. It's the Universal animated one where they're like a wolf and a shark and stuff, but they will become good guys. It looks pretty good. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nicolas Cage one with Pedro Pascal and everything. You would think that would be the one that we pick, but I'm sorry. But there's unless Jay works on Fridays, so I guess unless there was somebody who wanted to talk about Nicolas Cage to do the podcast with, almost certainly the movie we will be talking about next week, and she would like this, maybe would want to rewatch his two previous films, is Robert Eggers' new movie, The Northman, is next week.
Yes.
He'd previously directed The Witch and The Lighthouse. So, maybe, I bet there's somebody out there who is a fan of his that would like to talk about those movies.
Love those
again,
movies.
that movie looks absolutely amazing. And I feel like that'll be the movie probably next week that we do talk about.
Can we watch The Witch?
Well, Krim,
That's
you
something
and
I'll
I
talk
can talk about Nicolas Cage privately.
Yeah, we will see that. It's kind of fallen lower on my tier because the first trailer I was like, okay, this looks like he's really in on the joke and looks great and everything. Then the second trailer came out and it revealed that it's like a spy secret agent-y type movie, and to me that makes it look a lot worse than I originally thought it was going to be. But who knows?
I
Again,
love those movies.
next week's probably going to be The Northman. We might talk about Robert.
That movie going. I know this is going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
We'll probably talk about Robert Edgar's movies, The Witch and the Lighthouse, and then The Northman. You can always find us everywhere. Here at Twitch every Friday when we do this. I'm gonna start streaming more regularly again with some gamey things. We have a Discord you can join where we talk about movies and whatnot. Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff you can follow. I share things on there sometimes. Maggie told people at the movie theater about our podcast, and the bartender, she told him like last week about it and some people who were there. And then as we were leaving yesterday, he asked about it to get the name and stuff again as we were leaving the movie theater from Harry Potter.
He said the people that were in line behind you after you left, they were like, "Wait, what podcast do they have?"
Yeah, the one problem is, even though we call it Chicken on a Stick, that's not like the Twitch name or anything, so you're not really gonna find it that way. Anyway, she's gotta get Max before we leave, but we're still I'm gonna set that raid here. So if everybody hangs out and does that, D-Pad, thanks again for coming.
Thank you,
and
D-Pad.
We'll do the end thing and see you guys over at that place.
At that place.